SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Rajiv. I'm in Sacramento, California. I came to Save with Conrad because I've heard Conrad talk about how he helps people all the time save money and the best route to go for getting some mortgages and finances done. And having heard so many different testimonials in the past, it made the most sense to go this route. We were in the market for a new house and we wanted to know what we could afford. So we spoke with Steve and then Diane to get through the pre-approval process to see what we could afford. And then once we were able to understand that aspect of it, that was when we were able to shop around for a house to get a mortgage through Save with Conrad. Everybody on the team was great. Everybody really explained everything fully to where it was more in like layman's terms to where I could understand it as someone not in the business or having shopped around for houses too many times. So being able to understand every step of the process and talking with everyone on the team about that was really, really helpful. And it made me feel really confident that I was going the right route. I would definitely recommend Save with Conrad to others. I know that sometimes people look at it and they go, oh, they're based in Alabama. What could they help me with? But I'm out here in California and they were able to square everything away and get things done really quickly, as opposed to sometimes even people out here don't move as quickly as the Save with Conrad team. So everything was really well done, really efficient, and I would definitely recommend Save with Conrad to others. My name is Rajiv. I'm in Sacramento, California, and I was able to get into my dream home with SaveWithConrad.com.
And that's number 212 Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Connie, happy recording My World recording day. What a weekend. Jefferson, Georgia. One fall wrestling, Conrad. Me and you need to chat about that. You getting your, I guess you putting your foot in the tipping your toe in the water, so to speak, color commentating, but moved my daughter into college, the dog days of summer, Forbidden Door. I just heard a Scottish man try to do the worst impersonation of Conrad Thompson, but we're going to talk about it all. And man, oh man, today, Connie, we got a Vince McMahon, Kevin Cave back in the Spike Day stories. We've got a Samoa Joe story. We've got an AJ Styles, and then we got a crazy Sabu story. So I'm fired up. Man, wrestling business never slows down. Mexico's pretty hot. We're going over to the fourth most successful show outside of WWE. Anyway, Connie, I'm fired up, pal. How are you doing today?
I'm good, bud. I am excited about you heading across the pond, and we do have big news. You're doing a My World live. Tell them about it, Jeff.
I'm fired up. You know, my man Grado, he's like last year, well, I guess it was 2 years ago, the first Wembley, he's like, we ought to do one of those. And then the schedule, I went over and did media and cracked him with the guitar, and we never could really align that. And then last year, just scheduling and flights and booking venues and getting ahead of the game. You know how, Conrad, you have done many of these. I like to get out in front of all these. Well, this year, we didn't get out in front of it. It's kind of I call it a pop-up My World, Conrad, if you will. But we're doing it. If you're listening to this, it is literally this Saturday. The Boundary, formerly known as the Sports Bar and Grill in Farringdon. That is in proper London. I'm probably not going to get the enunciation correctly. But yes, it is a pop-up My World Live. Myself, I've got my man Grado. Man, oh man, have we got some stories that there is no way, Connie, am I going to let microphones roll on this one? But yeah, we're going to have a good time. And then maybe our old nemesis couldn't do this without a host. And so he is certainly no Conrad Thompson, but my man from Cultaholic, Tom Campbell, is going to be hosting. And so it's all getting started the night before Forbidden Door, Saturday night. Kicks off at 7:30. There is a football/soccer game that's taking place in the afternoon. But, man, we're going to get things kicked off 7:30, probably start telling stories around 8. General admission, 20 pounds. VIP, which is going to get you a meet and greet, a free signed personalized 8x10 by myself, and Grado's got. You ought to see the photo shot he has bringing to the table. So anyway, this Saturday on My World Live, I'm calling it a pop-up because we just announced it on Friday, and we're going to be doing it literally this Saturday. Get your tickets at myworldliveuk.com. That's right, myworldliveuk.com. We're going to have a lot of fun. Got a couple of surprises. I'm taking a page out of Conrad Thompson's book. So we're excited, Connie. We really are. We're going to miss you. But Tom Campbell says that he's going to mind his P's and Q's and get ready and do some good prep work, and we'll see how that turns out.
Check it out if you haven't already. Make plans to join Tom Campbell, Grado, and Double J this weekend live, myworldliveuk.com. That's myworldliveuk.com. Starts at just 20. A 20 spot gets you. Man, what a value.
Buddy, last minute, we wanted to get him in there and have a good time and tell stories. So, I'm curious on how we're going to close this show. I'll just leave it at that. But I wore my Slapnuts UK shirt today in honor of the My World Live. So we'll see how it pans out, buddy. We'll report back next week. But looking forward to seeing all the faithful UK folks. They know how much I respect them. I used to call them freeloaders, but go way back in the country. My first trip over in 1993. So I am excited to be talking to the UK fans Saturday night.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up this weekend. Of course, you're not just going to the UK to do this show with Grado. You're also going for Forbidden Door. It's this weekend, and it is the 4th largest non-WWE gate in history already. And you see front and center on the poster, it's the one and only Will Ospreay. The AEW World title will be hanging in the balance, though, for Hangman Adam Page and MJF. It's going to be a big-time main event. We've also got the Women's Championship on the line with Timeless Toni Storm taking on Athena. Been a lot of push for Athena. It felt like her coming out party. People were really behind her over All Out weekend in Texas, not just at the Ring of Honor show, but at the actual All Out. And how about the Unified Championship? It's going to be defended by Okada against Swerve Strickland. I'm looking forward to this. These guys have had a non-finish on TV before, but Swerve Strickland has made himself irreplaceable to AEW, and most people still consider Okada to be 1A or 1B in the ring even now. And how about the TNT Championship? You want to talk about a big-time Forbidden Door type match? What about Kyle Fletcher defending his TNT against Takahashi? I'll get it out. This is a big-time show for AEW versus New Japan. And we get that same Forbidden Door feel with Mercedes Moné taking on Alex Windsor. A CMLL competitor whose name I will butch. and an opponent from Stardom. But this is really what it's all about. When you can load up, what if this guy fought that guy and they're not in the same company? It's happening this weekend. And how about Zack Sabre Jr.? He's going to be defending the IWGP title against Nigel McGuinness. One of the bigger matches in Nigel McGuinness's history, such a major platform. I'm pumped for him. We've also got a lights out steel cage match. And this is going to be something everybody's talking about, I'm sure. The Golden Lovers are back together. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi teaming with Darby Allin, Tanahashi, and Will Ospreay to take on the Death Riders, which is Claudio and John Moxley, the Young Bucks, and Gabe Kidd. This is going to be a spectacle. I mean, this match alone, I feel like is going to be can't miss, because you just look at the daredevils that are involved here and the innovation that's involved here. My gosh, get your cameras ready. Get your popcorn ready. The tag straps are on the line. The Hurt Syndicate will be working here against either FTR or Brodito. I guess this is the winner of the Eliminator tournament that we're going to see later tonight as you're listening to this, or tomorrow night rather. And then we've got Adam Copeland getting back together with Christian Cage. The first time we're going to see them together in a long, long time, taking on Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne. And we've also got a singles match that's been announced, as Tanahashi is going to have some opponent. And I think the mystery is what everybody is sort of interested in. Hey, talk to us about this card, man. It feels like it's about as loaded as it can get. You've got a who's who from so many different companies. And normally we could say, hey, this match is going to steal the show. You can say that 3 or 4 times, maybe more on this one. What do you expect this weekend in London?
You know, Conrad, I've done a little media on this already, and every time the host, like yourself, kind of goes through the card, you know, and I can remember looking through the magazines, waiting on my old man to get off the phone, and you hear about, oh, a dream match, a dream match, a dream match. In those days, it was, you know, late 80s, it was a WCW versus a WWF opponent that would never really happen, you know, Sting versus Taker or whatever it may be. So the Forbidden Door already, you know, from day one, it kind of bring on that vibe. But that 10-man lights out, I loved it when Tanahashi was added to it. And like you said, there is scene stealers, show stealers across the card. I'm seriously with the Bucks and Darby. This is going to be interesting. Mox has no conscience, so that is to me kind of be, you know, one of the standouts. I can't help but note on Nigel, Zack Sabre Jr., that in a way, you know, last year in the gauntlet and Nigel coming out, but you know, the O2, that is, you know, one of the most famous, you know, it's relatively new, but still it's a famous venue around the globe. So hats off to Nigel getting his shot here. You've already gone through the matches. I could go on and on and on and on and on about it, but it's really a dream match card, and it feels like just yesterday, Connie, we all in. I feel like we are just coming off this, and then here we are. And you know, here in the U.S., if you will, as football season cranks up, we got us in my time zone a noon kickoff, 1 Eastern. So the pay-per-view coming on Saturday afternoon, obviously in the evening, Sunday night in London, but noon kickoff this Sunday if you're living in the Central Time Zone. So it's a stacked card. Nobody does pay-per-view like AEW, and that is not Jeff the Broken Record saying that. I truly mean that. So Edge and Christian, just because of their, in a lot of ways, the amount of times they've appeared in the market, that's going to be special. There's a lot of things that have the opportunity to be not just a great match, but a great moment. There are a lot of moments that I think are, let's just say this, they've been in the oven a while. Let's see what happens when they take them out Sunday night. So pretty damn fired up, Connie.
Well, I'm pretty fired up to brag about the fact that we've got Harry's Razor as a sponsor here today, and I'm so excited that they're on board because let's be honest, most razors suck.
Yep.
They're either way overpriced or they're dull after a few shaves, and they leave your face feeling like it's been attacked by sandpaper. Don't even get us started on overpriced refills. We all know it. $20 for a 4-pack should be doggone illegal. And that's where Harry's comes in. You see, Harry's really is the best of both worlds. You're going to get a barbershop quality shave with German engineered blades and a sleek ergonomic handle. But here's what Double J is all about. At literally half the price of the other premium razors. Their precision manufacturing process means each blade is measured in microns. How about that? We're talking aerospace level accuracy for both sharpness and consistency. That's going to reduce your irritation in your razor bone, especially around the neck. We've all had that at one point, right? But each cartridge has blades that are carefully spaced. So they're close enough for a clean pass, but not so tight that they clog up like all the other multi-blade razors you've probably ever used. But here's the kicker. Not only is Harry's one of the best engineered razors on the planet, it's also affordable because Harry's owns their own factory. So they've cut out the middleman and they're going to deliver top tier blades for like half the price of the big brands. So stop overpaying for a mediocre shave. Yeah, Harry's has actually been perfecting this manufacturing process for like 100 years. And each razor also comes with a lubricating strip that's been formulated with aloe and vitamin E to help reduce friction even further and soothe your skin while you shave. And maybe you didn't know this, but Harry's doesn't just make razors. They've got a full line of all your grooming essentials. They've got shave gel, the deodorant, and body wash, and it's all right there for you. And right now, for a limited time, our listeners can get a Harry's trial set for just $8 and even get a free gift at harrys.com/myworld. Just head on over to harrys.com/myworld to receive our exclusive discount. Now, after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. That's harrys.com patreon.com/myworld.
Did you say a free gift, Conrad? Because
gift.
I know I'm very well of that. Our ad sales team. Folks, get you a free gift, get you a nice shave.
Let's talk a little bit about what happened this past weekend. We're talking about TripleMania, of course. We've been spending a little bit of time so far talking about New Japan and their opportunity to work with AEW. We know that's coming up this weekend with Forbidden Door. But as we take a look on the other channel in WWE, well, they just worked with a Lucha Libre promotion in Mexico this past weekend. And of course, we know they're part owners now with AAA. But what a TripleMania it was, Jeff. This is the biggest attendance for a TripleMania, 19,691. This is the biggest gate for a TripleMania. And they even put a press release out bragging that this had over 200 million impressions across all the different social media platforms. A big part of that, of course, is celebrating celebrities like Conan going into the Hall of Fame, but the unbelievable visuals of Omos and Microman. I mean, what a fun show this was. TripleMania. I don't know what you had a chance to see or didn't see. What's your reaction to the big show this weekend, Jeff?
Well, it's all about the numbers, and that is, in a lot of ways, I felt like Worlds Collide was, to me, it's exactly kind of what I guess should say, coming no surprise, because it literally was their first effort and kind of a transition, and it was a part of what was that Money in the Bank weekend, and so it was kind of that transition. I believe Saturday night you saw this is the new AAA. This is the WWE version of AAA, and I think there is more to come of this. When you look at the staggering numbers, and I don't know if you have I know you said impressions, but I think it's over 2 million on YouTube, WWE YouTube, and then the AAA YouTube, and then WWE Espanol. And so it's definitely the most viewed. And so I got to see bits and pieces. Like I said, I was traveling, and then I traveled home yesterday. And so anyway, I got to get caught up on it because I knew you'd be drilling me with questions. But no, hats off. Congratulations. And I'll say this, because every time I kind of saw a news blurb and a buddy of mine text me, it's like, hey, what are your thoughts? And I was driving, so I had to give him a voice text. And I said, it's bigger, it's more numbers, it's more revenue. It's exactly what TKO wants. And then the next thought I had was, man, oh man, Conrad, what an opportunity there is in the country of Mexico, because has Mexican wrestling, and I know there's up there, back in 54 and 72, and then literally when TripleMania started, there was 48,000 paid, I believe. But anyway, as far as the wrestling industry, Lucha Libre, as we know, it's never been, Arena Mexico is working on, 6-8 consecutive sellouts. CMLL in Guadalajara, 6, 7, 8 sellouts. I think Puebla's rocketing. Anyway, wrestling as a whole across the country, there's going to be a new promotion pop up, because you want to service that market. And so the awareness is through the roof, and the new version, maybe not as much grit, certainly not as much violence, but the Omos Micro Man high spot, if you will, with Otis, I think there's so much more of that to come. You could tell they're debuting new stars, kind of the narrative that I was reading. And anyway, so I mean, the numbers speak for itself. So hats off to all of them. And God almighty, the wrestling business just gets healthier and healthier and healthier. And I know we've been saying that for a bit, Connie, but those numbers are, Jesus, they're impressive.
Do you follow Lucha Blog over on Twitter?
Mm-hmm. I have for a long time, I think.
Lucha Blog tweeted out this morning after that press release came out from WWE.
Okay.
And they said, peaking at a concurrent audience of 614,000, which is what they did this past weekend, is less than averaging 1.6 million in 2019. And quote unquote, reaching 4.1 million is less than the 8.2 million they claimed in 2019. Of course, we're talking about what AAA has claimed in the past versus what this new WWE thing is. And I appreciate that he is dedicated to holding people accountable for what's said and what has been said and all that. But on some level, I think you and I both agree. Releasing a press release, it's illusionary marketing, right?
But I mean, without it's a part of the DNA. Of course it is. Conrad, are you throwing me a softball and want me to swing and miss on it? Or no, I'm kidding. It is now in the DNA of, I shouldn't just say professional wrestling, because other forms of entertainment. I mean, there can be movies out of Hollywood that flat out bomb, and they're going to find a shred of a shred of a shred of good news, and they hyper focus on that. Look, the building was full. The views were great. But anyway, it's their asset now. I saw another image that Nick Khan and Triple H and Maricela and Dorian, and then I think his name's Alberto. Anyway, the gentleman from Philippe. That's those guys are the ones that orchestrated the deal. They're betting on it. And so, it's pre-marketing and it's post-marketing. This is post-marketing, and hats off to them.
No doubt. I, for one, am excited to see, what this future looks like. I have to admit, I'm curious to get your take on the Del Rio thing, but I know you were going with a thought there.
Just what was, and I don't know if you're going there with it, but CMLL on Friday night, AAA on Saturday night, and I think there was another CMLL, all in the same city. And Saturday night in Jefferson, Georgia, a young guy, we literally chatted 3 minutes or something like that, but he was asking about it and all that. And I said, do you know how big Mexico City is?
No, nobody here has any frame of reference. That it's huge.
It's bigger than New York City. It's the most populated city in I think Rio is the only, is it bigger than Rio? But anyway, it's massive, and it reaches, like, when you fly in there and you get in a car and you can drive legit at least an hour. Oh no, you're still in Mexico City. I mean, folks, to put it, you just can't really wrap your head around how big Mexico City is. But that to me, when you had, almost 20 for AAA, almost, I don't know what, 16, 17, 18, whatever, Arena Mexico. I mean, there's just lots of wrestling tickets were sold this weekend, and I'm here for it.
The population of Mexico City in 2025 is over 22 million people.
I mean, that's just crazy. Good Lord.
Especially when you consider New York City is 8.4. So you're talking about, you could almost fit 3 New York cities inside Mexico City. And
I just wonder if, what the population would be. Just, I'll call it the suburbs. It's just massive. It is. Yeah. I didn't realize.
If you put New York and LA together and you multiplied it times 3, that's the size of Mexico City.
I love Conrad's analogies. I mean, boy, oh boy. Yeah. It's something.
It's multiple. It's huge.
It's huge.
Yeah. Speaking of huge, the reaction for Alberto Del Rio at this show was huge. Fans were chanting Alberto during Rey Mysterio's induction speech of Conan. They wanted Alberto. They're booing Vikingo every time he's on the screen. This is a guy who's been positioned as a baby face, but allegedly a lot of Lucha fans hold the booking against him as if it was his damn idea. Not necessarily totally fair, but they're trying to send a message to the powers that be. We want Del Rio. WWE seemingly has tried to distance themselves from that, but other people would say, no, they're just building to the right moment, the right return. It is going to be interesting to see what comes next and how they manage to get there, because I do think it's an issue, because Vikingo's been a babyface. So if Alberto is also a babyface and he's going to cost him the title, well, that's not very babyface. But we know that Vikingo's wrestling Dirty Dom about a month from now in Las Vegas for a PLE out there for AAA, and that's going to be on September 12th. What do you think? I mean, is Del Rio going to be back inside the tent? It seems inevitable to me.
Oh, come on, Conrad. You're not starting with that question, are you?
I am.
Oh, good Lord. You know what makes me just kind of chuckle in so many ways? In 2025, the Lucha Libre audience, and I have been there quite a bit, but also when I wasn't there, followed it. And if there is a talent in 2025, the AEW fans have seen him, the WWE fans seen him, that can put together. He had a hell of a match with Omega. I mean, if you want to put a Lucha Libre talent that can have, he's the Will Ospreay. He's 5-star plus every time he goes out. Alberto, his physical capabilities, I think it's safe to say, hell, what was that in 2017 when we brought him in to TNA Global and all that. I mean, if this isn't the perfect example of charisma over in-ring ability, I mean, to me, that people want to be emotionally attached. They know the story. They know the character. There's no doubt in my mind that as much as glitz and glamour and the numbers resulted in it, and it's the new version, it's the WWE version of AAA, there is a patriotic pride that goes with Alberto at its very core level. He's a kid, quote unquote, from San Luis Potosi that is second generation, that knows how to talk, knows how to work. He will bust your ass. He's aggressive. He's a fighter. But most importantly, Conrad, he knows how to connect with the audience at a really, really deep level from a real passionate fan base, and he's a passionate guy. I'm surprised that people are surprised by this. Does that make sense? Why would people be emotionally? What has Vikingo done in his entire career to create an emotional connection? That's a question. I'm serious. What has he done in his entire career to create that emotional connection?
Are you saying the reason fans might not want him back?
Want who back?
Del Rio.
Oh no, they want him back bad because
I know they do down there, but they don't in the online. That's what I'm talking about. Is the divide between, there's pressure amongst fans online to not bring Del Rio back. And we know that if you've been paying attention to TKO, they don't give a shit about your opinion. No. If he's legally cleared and the fans who are the paying customers want him, he's coming back.
I do think they care about your opinion, but they care about, can I monetize this above everything else?
The way they care about your opinion when it comes to you voting with your wallet.
Bingo. Okay.
And they're not going to put a guy on TV that's going to keep you from watching the program. You disagree?
Say that again now.
They're not going to. I know that there's a few of you who are going to tweet at me and say, that's not true. They brought back so-and-so and I haven't watched since. Yeah, but you're still here listening, consuming content about it. You're plugged in. My point is, even comic book fans, and I'm not a comic book guy, but they could get frustrated with a character or get frustrated with a story. They're not going to just set their fandom down and walk away because one character came back that they didn't enjoy. No. Or they didn't like that character.
Never.
I'm just saying, where do you draw the line? Like Mike Tyson, fresh off of serving a prison sentence for you know what, he's front and center headlining their biggest event of the year, WrestleMania. Like, let's not act like this is a secret. And there's lots of guys who have had, trouble here, there, and yon. But if TKO has shown, if they're not in any sort of present legal trouble, they're good to go. Del Rio's coming back. But how you bring him back now that he's got such a hardcore following in Mexico, I mean, there's a groundswell of support behind him. It's a big opportunity. One I can get excited about creatively.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't want to pick on specific words, but you said a hardcore. I'm going to say there's a mainstream following. I think the world is forgiving. I also don't think people tune in to professional wrestling and say, I got to have a morality play. Now, I want to know if this guy's a good father, a good husband, a good uncle, a good brother. Does he do his service work? Does he do all these things in his life? No, no. That they want to be entertained. They want to be emotionally connected. Can this guy play the Rudo or the Technico, since we're talking Lucha Libre? Is he the heel? Is he a bad guy or a good guy? Can I get emotional? Will I entertain? Will I feel like I got my money's worth? Or when I get done watching this, can I get done and go out and cut the grass or whatever it is? Alberto checks every one of those boxes. And like you said, it's in life, we all go through shit. It ups and downs and everything with it. The morality police, God bless them. And I totally understand that on so many levels. And you can tweet and post and voice your opinion on this, but TKO or UFC or AEW or whatever it may be, they all got bottom lines to meet. And I think that's just the real reality. And so let me ask you, Conrad, and you probably know more than I do. Alberto, you don't believe he's under a contract with not AAA, but with WWE right now?
I'm not sure if he is or not.
Okay. I honestly would have assumed there's no way he's on that show Saturday without him being under a deal.
He wasn't on the show Saturday.
Well, okay, but they know what they're playing with.
But help me understand. You said okay. You mean by the fans chanting his name, he's on the show?
No, just okay. Do you think it was a surprise? Maybe let me back up here. Do you think it was a surprise that they chanted his name Saturday?
No.
Okay, maybe that's that. I don't either.
But they chanted Punk's name for years when he wasn't under contract with WWE.
True.
Here's what I'm saying. I think WWE's already made the decision. They're bringing him back, and they don't give a damn about your opinion. They're going to bring him back.
Yeah.
But I do think there will be a little bit of backlash for a day or a week or whatever it is when he comes back. But then it'll just be back to business as usual.
Well, if they didn't bring him back, I think there's going to be a massive backlash on that too.
Well, let me ask you, down there for sure. But that's what I wanted to get to is when you said, do you mean he's not under contract right now? And I almost wanted to say, respectfully, where's his leverage right now? I don't think he can go to AEW. I don't know that, but I don't think that's an option. I could be wrong. What do I know?
So let me back all the way up. I was under the assumption, I may be wrong, during the acquisition, he would have been working for AAA for 2 years now.
Well, but there's a lot of guys like Sam Adonis who've worked with AAA for years and years, and they're not under a deal.
But
and I'm not comparing Sam Adonis to slide on the card with Del Rio. I'm not suggesting that, but I almost wonder if they played the hokey pokey game, is it in an effort to get a better deal?
Yeah. Okay. We're getting into stuff that we're outside the tent, as you say, but he was champion.
But they advertised him with they advertised the match with Vikingo and Chad Gable for the title before Del Rio ever lost the damn thing.
Yeah.
Which to me, if we signed him and we're going to tell that story, I don't know that we would just ignore it and get the belt off of him. Right? If he was signed, why do you go through all that trouble?
Yeah. And so I'm probably getting way out of bounds because I don't know the intricacies of it.
Well, I don't either. I'm just freestyling. I don't think he can go to TNA. I don't think he can go to AEW. What's left? He's going to work a deal out with WWE. And I wonder if they did what I would call in sales the fake takeaway. Hey, we're going to take the belt off of you and put it on Vikingo. And then we're going to have him, go wrestle Chad Gable and then this 4-way and then Dominic Mysterio. They probably had all of that mapped out, but they're probably thinking in the back of their mind, if he's on the outside looking in, we can beat his numbers down because respectfully, I don't pretend to know what the pay scale is, but once upon a time, I heard the top guy in AAA, this is years ago, was making $100,000 a year. That would not be considered top guy money in American wrestling today. So I'm saying if he's a guy who has previously experienced the bigger paydays in the WWE, he may have an expectation. Yes, I was working for less money with AAA, but I'm not going to do that for WWE because I know that you guys. So it just, to me, just like our Karrion Kross discussion, which we're going to get to, I feel like it became a game of economics. They'll get to the right number. They'll show Alberto, well, we just had the highest grossing without you, or whatever it is, get to a number, and then here he comes. I always felt like it was a deal about we're going to get a better deal out of the Del Rio signing than we would have if we just came in and said, okay. And then he could reference, well, my last WWE deal, that was different management. That was different circumstances. That was a different promotion. I don't know. We'll see. What do you think happens?
Oh, that's why maybe I'm way too much. And this is what I'm kind of feeling right now. I'm just way too much a casual on this specific set of circumstances. But I thought if buying the brand and buying the IP, and then that's the valuation and all that, because when you throw talent in there and talent contracts, they're all, got a shelf limit. And just, what are they acquiring? But when you kind of look at the talent that could immediately affect Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and I'm saying, don't go over there as full-time, but have the mindset, what are my bridges to introduce the WWE audience down to AAA? Because I would say there's a large portion of the AAA audience, I don't want to get into numbers, that just they're not familiar with it. So how are we going to build that bridge? Well, you can cross promote and have tune in and commercials and sound bites all you want, but when you throw a Rey Mysterio, a Dom, Alberto Alberto can be a direct conduit as a marketing arm. I just thought I just took it at face value, looking at the asset they acquired. Alberto's in the main event slot. They're buying this asset. Okay, we're just going to move this all under the tent as a part of the acquisition, part of maybe the closing terms. Dorian, what talent are you bringing to the table? Like you talk about the leverage and all that. At that time, what was his leverage with Dorian? So sign him up. But you're saying there's probably a little bit more gamesmanship here, and hats off to all sides. I get it. It's maybe, but my assumption, and this is where I've gotten wrong in my personal life, a lot of the assumptions and projections, is that from day one, he was an asset that TKO wanted and got.
Can't wait to see what's next for Del Rio. What I know is he's going to have to have his working boots on because, well, it's going to be an uphill battle for the internet wrestling community to come around. But like JBL, he was working a lot of AAA shows, and he would tell me, Conrad, he's the best performer in the business right now. The way he's got these crowds bought in. And I know that's hard for a lot of us who don't keep up on a regular basis to say, is that him shilling? I want to remind you, JBL does not have a contract with WWE or with AAA, but he's saying of all the buildings he's been in, man, the passion with these Lucha Libre fans towards Alberto Del Rio was unlike anything he'd seen going right now. I think if you're a booker, you want him back for that.
Yeah. So when was I just there?
I don't know, bud.
I'm trying to think. And Silva, if you've got it off the top of your head, but I just feel like me and Sam in the tag titles, that doesn't feel, was that March? Not that long ago. Yeah. I mean, and
March 22nd of this year.
Okay. I thought it was March. I mean, Conrad, it was, I'll toot my own horn, man. No, it sounds bad saying that, but I've got kind of long-term heel heat, and so does Sam, and the reaction and everything that goes with it. But Alberto, out of everybody on the card, all eyes, and I'll put on my executive producer or booker hat. I mean, no doubt he's quote unquote, maybe JBL would agree with this, the guy. That's why I'm thinking interesting path to get there, but play the long game is always the most successful game in professional wrestling.
By the way, the show you were at, Raider Reyes, 2025, March of this year, the main event, Alberto El Patron, who's the champion, beating El Hijo de Vikingo, 23 minutes and 22 seconds.
And a boatload of run-ins, and the people were standing. I'd say out of the 23 minutes, 23 minutes.
It's funny because that's the match where John came back and he was like, "Dude, it's the damnedest thing I've
Yeah,
ever seen." Blah blah
it's
blah.
unhung that day. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know that it's going to be a fun walk. And by the way, I also want to thank Brunt. Choosing work boots used to mean sacrificing comfort or durability, meaning if your work boots felt good, well, they didn't last. And if they lasted, man, they'd wreck your feet. Well, Brunt thought that was a bunch of BS. So they brought tough work boots that feel great from day one. Yeah, that's what you get with Brunt. No break in period, no sore feet, because people out there doing the real work shouldn't have to choose between comfort and durability. Eric Gerard grew up blue collar and he started Brunt Workwear after his friends in the trades kept telling him that the big brands had stopped listening. They hadn't changed in like 100 years. They'd sold out to become fashion brands. And Eric's buddies actually encouraged him to build a brand that was built for them. And that's why all the Brunt products are named after the guys he grew up with, real hardworking tradesmen. And there's no doubt these are the most comfortable work boots you'll ever wear. They're going to feel comfortable right out of the box. No long, painful break-in period like with the other brands. But they're not just comfortable, they're also built to perform. Whether you're looking for waterproof, safety toe, soft toe, pull on, lace up, man, they've got options that can handle whatever job site you're walking onto. And Brunt stands behind what they make. You can wear them to work. And when they're not right for you, we'll send them back. I don't know another brand doing that, but this is a company that really believes in their product. I've been wearing these boots for a while now. Anytime I'm doing something here on around the lake, it's a home run, dude, especially if I'm near the shoreline. My feet are dry and I'm comfortable. The Brunt boots come comfortable right out of the box. I absolutely love it. Brunt was tired of these other workwear brands cutting corners. You work too hard to be stuck in uncomfortable boots that don't hold up. So Brunt built something better. Boots that are insanely comfortable and built for any job site. And right now, for a limited time, our listeners can get $10 off at Brunt when you use the code MyWorld at checkout. So head on over to bruntworkwear.com and use the code MyWorld and you're good to go. That's bruntworkwear.com and use the code MyWorld. That's BRUNT workwear.com with the promo code MyWorld. And after you order, they're going to ask you how you heard about Brunt. Do us a favor and tell them it was from this show, My World with Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, you got to kick somebody's ass on AEW TV wearing some Brunt work boots. Can we get that worked out?
That would, you know what? I should have worn me some Brunt boots Saturday night or AEW, whatever. Hey, I was just sitting here thinking, Conrad, and we did a VIP meet and greet. Conrad, I'm not just BSing here, but it was just running through my mind. I bet half the folks in the VIP said, listen to you and Conrad every week. So right now, I got to give a shout out to all the folks that I said, yes, I will tell Conrad. And Monday, when we're recording, I'll give shout outs. Specific shout out to the couple from Chatty. Conrad, there is a female out of that couple who looked at me and said, yep, listen every week. And her boyfriend / husband, I should have got the name, Conrad, he said, she's tried a bunch of different podcasts. You're the only ones. And I'm like, well, how about that? So shout out to all the My World listeners that I saw Saturday night in Jefferson, Georgia, man. Conrad, there's a gaggle of them, pal. So made me feel good.
By the way, I loved a clip that I think QT Marshall posted for his fabulous Indy 1FW. And you guys were in Georgia this weekend. But he said something like often imitated, never duplicated. And then when you started to hit your strut, your tag team partner's doing it on the apron. How fun is that?
It was, you know what? I came back from the show and my youngest daughter went because I moved and you know, she's like, you all right? I said, that's fun. Conrad, I had a good time. It's wrestling on a Saturday night, a full house of a middle school gym. It really took me back, but no, 1FW, QT, the whole crew, Satnam made me feel proud. Him getting a rep in, which is something that's really all he needs. His athletic ability amazes me. Jay Lethal chopped the guy so hard. I think that kid is still screaming as we sit here today. But no, a lot of fun, Conrad. A lot of fun. But a lot of My World listeners, man. I mean specifics about the show. So I thought that was cool.
Can you imagine a pissed off Satnam Singh? Have you seen that in real life? Like a real life, real mad?
No. Hey, I've seen, I think maybe I'm a little aggravated, but like a really angry Scott Steiner. Can you imagine Satnam's a foot taller than him? He could do some serious damage if he ever got really, really irate. Yeah, he's so damn strong. Unbelievable. But
I saw him at a 1FW event week before last, and respectfully, his opponent was not the largest fella in the building. And there was a moment in time where I thought, if he doesn't pull this a little, that kid's gone.
he hip tossed or Bill
Yes, from one end to the other like nothing.
over a guy's head. There was the way it was laid out. He picked one guy up, threw him 7 feet minimum in the air. It was a spectacle. And the people in the arena, that's what, strutting, big pop, Jay Lethal chop, big pop. When you see Satnam take a kid and back him in the turnbuckle and however the spot was, but literally throw the guy up in the air, it's like we throw a bag of potatoes. It was something. It was really something.
I've even, and I'm not trying to give away the magic of wrestling. We all know what it is, but there was a moment where Satnam has the guy reared back and he's getting ready to do the chop. And I'm thinking to myself, if he goes all the way through, we're going to have an ambulance on the site, because that guy's so mad. Your brain can't compute what you're seeing if you see it in real life.
No.
Like amongst my friends, I wear one of the bigger shoes. I'm a 12.5 for a 13. And his is double what I wear. And I'm usually, this is weird, but I'm usually one of the taller guys in the room. And then he walks in and you're just like, oh, and then you go to shake his hand and you realize, well, I'm a child. I mean, this is a child's hand. This is like when my kid would put her hand in my hand, like, oh, look at that little thing. That's him with my grown man hand.
Hey, Conrad, we did a meet and greet, Athens Ford. Shout out to them. Great sponsors. I love it when communities and, oh man, it just made my heart good. But I would imagine when they saw, because Conrad, Satnam will screw up a step and repeat. The banner behind it, because me and Jay and Satnam and poor guy taking the photos, I said, hey, it's impossible to frame this in. Satnam's head is going to be way above ours. You're going to have to step back. The picture is what it is. You're not going to get this, perfect picture and all this. But it's funny, me and Jay in the photos, and then whoever steps in, we all look so little. It's like, there he is.
Dude, I've been thinking about this. I swear I had a conversation about this. The move is, and I think you should do it the next time y'all have to do a photo. I don't know why I haven't told you this off air, but I think it would be hilarious. If you do a photo, like post it on Instagram, and you know how you can post multiple photos and you just scroll through? Well, in the first one, frame everyone else like you normally would, like Satnam's not even there. So it's going to have his head cut off. You'll just basically see his nipples and you won't see the rest of him. And then on the second photo, have the second photo be a properly framed photo of him, where it's just at best the tops of y'all's head.
Yep.
But that should be the carryover for the second picture. I think it would do numbers. I love it.
We got to do that. We got to do that, Conrad. That's good. That's really good.
I know I want to move on, but I can't stop thinking about this visual. Back when AEW ran house shows a couple of summers ago, they came through Huntsville, and you were in a 6-man with Jay and Satnam. And you guys did a spot where you and Jay are standing on the apron and he's on the floor. And when you fall, he catches you both with one hand.
Yes.
Not like at a time. You both fall at the same time, and he catches two grown heavyweight world champion professional wrestlers with a hand each and just puts them back. And I did a double take thinking, am I watching a cartoon right now, or is that real? There's nothing like him.
No, no, legit. That's why, when you play the game of basketball at a high level, now he got drafted into the NBA. So when you take that into context, that he can run up and down a basketball court at a competitive level, that then you just things just compute different. That battle royal in Phoenix, right after my dad passed away, and I got up on the second rope and did something, but then I toppled over, and he was to catch me. Conrad, I fell over like kind of a bag of potatoes, and it was awkward, and it was kind of supposed to be all this, but I went, oh shit, all this. Had somebody with normal strength, that would have been a spot that would have completely screwed up. He didn't think nothing about it. Yeah. he is truly has giant strength. There's no doubt about it.
Hey, it took giant strength for John Cena to come out and answer some questions honestly. And I loved it. You know, normally in wrestling, this is not what you see. But John Cena had some real grown man behavior over the weekend I wanted to bring up to you. He was doing a fan expo in Chicago, and he was asked whether or not he felt like his first promo as a heel. You may recall this was the one that he did internationally. Maybe he thought it was a miss. That was the question. And he said something like, I wasn't upset. No, I failed. And nothing wrong with that. You can learn from failure, right? I went up there and bombed. Shit happens. I love that. And later, when he was asked about, hey, would you have done the heel turn if you knew Rock wasn't going to come back? Or what would you have done differently if you knew Rock wasn't coming back? And John's response was amazing. He said something like, what I'm hearing is, in a hypothetical universe, what different choices would you make? I will answer that with hindsight. It's a waste of time. We must live right now and here in the excitement and adventure. We got 11 dates left. We'll be able to talk about all this bupkis in January after the whole thing is over. But we've taken the audience on a hell of a ride this year, and we've still got a ways left to go. So I'm excited about that. Man, when you see the responses to the questions here, it's no wonder that he's been in a leadership position with WWE for 20 years, just owning it. Hey, I sucked. I shit the bed. I'll learn from it. I'll get better. We could armchair quarterback it to death. Let's do that at the end. Let's focus on the other 11 dates. I just love that. I thought it was such a great answer. It reminded me once upon a time of when Peyton Manning was struggling before he won the big one, before he won the Super Bowl. And there was a knock on Peyton, you know, as a Tennessee guy. Oh, he'll never win the big one. And there was a kicker who missed a field goal, and people were blaming him. And he just stood right at the press conference and said, hey, don't put it on the kicker, put it on me. We lost because of me. If we win, it's because of me. If we lose, it's because of me. I can take it. I thought that was such a man thing of John Cena. I really liked this. What do you think of John's response?
I may take this in a different direction. I don't know what you're expecting, but you've seen, I'm sure, because they're all over YouTube and little bits and maybe some LinkedIn learning, basically crisis management.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say that John is working when he says those statements, but he without a doubt knows how to position himself as an unbelievable monster babyface, because he clicks and checks and ticks right dialed into, God almighty, I can't wait to watch these last 4 months because I am sure pulling for my man John. I mean, there is nothing not to like about him.
Yep.
And you are so emotionally connected to a guy that shows vulnerability and is dialed in and shows his flaws and says, I'm not perfect, and really breezes through in, I'm not looking in the rearview mirror, I'm looking forward, because that's what it's about. And let's worry about today and how I can be better and everything that went with it. It's, to me, it's brilliant. And that's why I don't want to call it crisis management, but in a lot of ways, like, and I text you guys, you and Dave, about the cover of People magazine and how long, you know, I don't know if we've talked about that, but that's why when you kind of look at things, and maybe in January, we're going to hear a hell of a podcast story on Taker or Cody's or Stephanie's or one of their podcasts up there. And they're going to go back a year in review and really peel the layers of the onion off. But at the end of the day, John is all about business and figuring out, how am I going to increase engagement and viewership and clicks and all the metrics that need to be clicked and sell merch for him and the company. It is, I hope that the talent that are in the industry right now really, and I mean study, think through. If you got a chance, read this printed material over and over and over. Try to understand the DNA on how you handle situations, because John endeared himself to me to any of the naysayers out there that have, been with him through this ride and might have not felt fulfilled. Hats off to all of them. But John is dialed in to finishing these last 4 months in a real cool way.
He's also a big fan of Logan Paul. He was asked if he thought Logan Paul was overrated. And he said, I know there's a lot of people that like him, or there's not a lot of people that like him. He's not a likable guy. I disagree with him being overrated. I think he's underrated. I think he gets a bad rap. He's not an outsider. He belongs in the WWE. I think his best days are ahead of him. I think he's got championships in his future. I can tell you I'm not looking past Logan Paul, and I'm not believing any of this hype that he's an outsider should be taken lightly. I'm training hard. I said kind of from the beginning that I felt like Logan Paul's probably the right guy to be John Cena's last opponent, because I just know he's going to talk about that in the mainstream, because John Cena is a big enough name that it would, anytime you see Logan Paul, if he's talking about beating John Cena, it'll remind you, oh yeah, he's with WWE now. I don't know. I just think that's the way it's going to go. Our buddy Dolph Ziggler made some rounds last week when he suggested maybe there should be like a 7-man gauntlet that John Cena has to run through, built of his old opponents. And then maybe the last one is The Rock. If you were booking this, do you think we would, obviously anytime you can get The Rock, it's a value add to the program. So we'll start there. Do you think we'll see The Rock before John Cena finishes up? And who would you pick for John Cena's last opponent right now, if you had to call it?
Well, I mean, we're kind of dream booking and all that. I like the scenario of making the night this is your life, and go back and whoever is available that can be there. And from day one, Cena, maybe even go as the prototype, whatever it may be. I think that if you're tuning into this, you're going to see essentially John's entire career in a PLE format and have cameos by as many people as possible. But when you kind of look back on his career, in a lot of ways, and he was a megastar, but when he did the trilogy with Rock, in a lot of ways, that was kind of handing the baton off. And Cena went on to bigger and bigger heights, and Cena to Cody, and not to discount anybody out there, but how do you really have a Cena farewell? It's hard to argue in that if Logan has committed, and I'm not saying for life, but certainly the next couple of years in that he is, Rock became, go back, Hogan became bigger. With his passing, we saw that. He became bigger than the WWE, super success. Austin was a breakout. Rock was a breakout. Cena was a breakout. Just when you kind of got, Cody went off and did his deal in the right time, in the right place. And my God, he's super, super successful. But who is the guy that, in a way, Cena is going to hand the baton off in the era of celebrity, and if we get to our topic today, there is kind of some celebrity crossover appeal and all that. Those days are 20 years ago. Now we're, Bad Bunny and Tyson and Shaq and whoever else you want to talk about has their one-off matches. But if Logan is full-time, it's hard to really think of anybody else on the current roster that would have residual benefit other than Logan. And again, Cena's very calculated. He said the exact right things. He put Logan over about as strong as you can. He's not overrated. He's entirely underrated. I'm training hard. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. He's building his opponent the accurate way. There's so many young guys in this business that, and this is, Jesus, a Jackie Fargo, Jarrett 101. Never downgrade your opponent. Never talk BS. If the guy's old, don't say he's old. If the guy's short, don't say he's short. Figure out creative ways to put your opponent over, because then you're beating somebody. Cena it's 101 how he did it. So I just got to believe, and I think what you were leaning at is it's hard for me to come up with anybody other than Logan that, and I don't say makes sense, but that has the residual John giving the right player the rub.
If Vince were still making calls, who do you think Vince would pick?
Again, I'm assuming, probably wrongly so if you get into assumptions, but I'm assuming Logan is at least committing, let's say the next 3 years. I think Vince would pick Logan as well.
I don't have any inside information, but I feel like a lot of John Cena's sensibilities around wrestling were born out of Vince McMahon. I mean, that was his right-hand guy who booked him the entire time. So I think if we want to figure out what does John Cena want, if we thought about what does Vince want, what would Vince call, that might be where John Cena lands. If he really is in control of his last opponent, if they're giving him that one, which I think he's earned, he's probably going to think, what would Vince do?
Oh, I would be hard pressed if Cena on flights or during workouts and cardio, if he doesn't have a processing computer mindset that I think we all have to a certain degree. All right, John would maybe go, all right, what would Vince do? And then he may have 2 or 3 other voices in his head that whether it was an agent producer, whether it was maybe a TV guy that he leans into. It could be another talent that he looks up to, that he used to have phone calls with, all those kind of things on the processing of it to get a real inner circle vote of confidence or a yay or a nay. I definitely think there's not a decision he makes in the industry in his mind that he didn't go, all right, what would Vince do?
Well, I'll tell you what Vince would do. He'd make sure his money was protected. I got to tell Vince about the new Cash App. You see, this is a card that has built-in security that keeps your money safe. Plus, it's going to get you the protections you expect. If you're like me, you've been getting more text messages lately and even random emails, and you have to double check. Hey, who is the sender? Can I trust this? Is this a scam? Maybe you've fallen for one, maybe you haven't, but I tell you, when it comes to your money, you deserve to feel safe from fraud and in control. That's exactly what you can expect with our friends at Cash App. You see, when you get the Cash App card, not only do you get access to a ton of perks and benefits like exclusive early access to nationwide concert pre-sales or even discounts on popular brands, but you also have extra security with the power to instantly lock or unlock your card right from your phone in just one tap. So if a suspicious transaction pops up on your card, well, Cash App has your back by automatically declining the purchase, and they'll even send you a heads up to confirm it's you or not. And behind the scenes, you can rest assured knowing your account balance is protected by 24/7 fraud monitoring. And if something ever feels off, well, you have the ability to lock your card right from your phone in just one tap. With Cash App, you can spend, save, and live your life knowing your money is right where you left it, all with advanced built-in security, protections you can count on, and help when you need it. Spend peace of mind today and order a Cash App card in the app or at cash.app/card. I got to tell you, I'm a big believer in this. I think we've all been familiar with the way like successful face IDs are working now. If you have an iPhone or different types of biometric authentication for your account, well, they've got that here with the Cash App card. Think of it as like having your own heater, your own diesel, your own personal bodyguard to help you protect your money. And they give you a heads up whenever something's wonky, and you're going to have it in real time, a notification. Hey, shut it down. I didn't do that. I love this product. I love they're looking out for us, and I know you will too. And right now, for a limited time only, new Cash App customers can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real. Just go download the Cash App and use our exclusive referral code, MyWorld, in your profile, and then send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Go right now, download the Cash App, and use the promo code MyWorld. Boom, you're hooked up. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, instant discounts provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. We should remind everybody we've got John Cena and Logan Paul on the docket for Paris. So now maybe people are wondering, is he going to wrestle him twice? They're going to have a funny finish to that and pay it off later. There's rumor and innuendo that it might be Brock. There's even speculation. I don't know if you've seen this, but I know that AEW has a big pay-per-view planned on September 20th, and they're going to be in Toronto. It's going to be a
All Out
Copeland homecoming. We're talking about All Out, of course. Normally, All Out is in Chicago. This year, it's got a little bit of space from All In, and it's got a little bit of space from Forbidden Door, and it's in Toronto, so not Chicago. It's a big opportunity, but fans are now wondering, hey, are these rumors real? Is there going to be like a pop-up PLE on September 20th in Indianapolis called WrestlePalooza? Are they going to move John Cena and Brock Lesnar to that show instead? Will we see John Cena and Brock Lesnar head-to-head with the AEW pay-per-view? And are the rumors true that this will actually be like a bonus to celebrate the ESPN deal? Because there's a rumor, if this is real, this would be gigantic. Brock Lesnar versus John Cena on ESPN September 20th. That's the rumor going around. We talked about this last week, that the WWE ESPN deal might, in hindsight, one day, people might look at it and say, that's the biggest deal in the history of wrestling. But Brock Lesnar has ESPN mainstream attention. John Cena does as well. And if you get John Cena on ESPN before he hangs him up, that's a big win for everybody, right?
Yeah, and you know what? Because people Saturday night, Conrad, the biggest deal. A guy asked me about that is, I said, well, me and Conrad are saying this. We all know what is one thing guaranteed when the biggest deal in wrestling happens. Something's going to follow it. It's going to be even bigger. Now, that's a whole nother podcast we can talk about. But that being said, Conrad, when you know that Logan is Paris and the Brock kind of rumors, and what is kind of the one, we'll call it outlier out there, we have to answer two things. Is Cena winning his last match? I don't know.
I can't imagine that he is.
Well, if his opponent is Rock, I'm just throwing it out there. Do you put a button on all of this? Rock swayed his mind and then left him to the wolves. Do you just kind of put a button on all of it, and Rock is his last opponent, and you do Logan Paul, then you do Brock, and then you've got an 8-week run or so, whatever it may be, to get to the Rock? I don't know Rock's schedule. I don't know any of that, but Cena Rock, the final showdown, Cena getting his hand raised, is that? I mean, what do you think of that, Conrad?
I think it would be The Rock giving his endorsement to a guy like Logan Paul, and Logan Paul does The Rock's bidding to take out John Cena. I could be wrong, but like if you take a look at his entire run on this farewell run, with the exception of Cody, I don't know that anybody has shared more screen time with John Cena than Logan Paul. Gotcha. I could be wrong, but that's the way I think it shakes out. We'll see, but hey, that's what we're here for, just to talk about the possibilities. But the idea that they may jumpstart this ESPN thing, it's not supposed to start till next April. But if they can put together on a month's notice a PLE with a new brand in a new town on ESPN, think about the promotional support. Because at that point, you'd be 3 weeks into college football season.
And you're quicker Google than me. Can you Google when the Fox streaming app launches? Because they're doing Fox news, business, sports, Big Ten, a couple of other things, but they're launching that streaming service. As
folks are listening to this, it's 2 days from now.
Okay, so it's already going to be out. I was just trying to think that, who knows where this streaming war is going to go, because in the streaming war, wrestling's I call it a pawn, but it's a chip and moving and everything. I don't know, man. That when you hear the rumors, they're gonna speed this ESPN deal up, you go, okay, now why? Like, yes, it's successful and get eyeballs, and it's all about the eyeball games and the numbers game and subscriptions and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I'm here for it, Connie. We're chatting up some pretty interesting stuff here today.
Let's talk a little
philosophy.
topic. Let's talk about a little philosophy before we talk about some business. Coach Rosie's with us, and he says, hey, Rick won his last match. Well, respectfully, Rick's last match wasn't with a promotion. It was a one-off built around him leaving. So I think it's a little different. Because if you take a look at Rick's last match in WWE, he lost to Shawn Michaels, but Shawn was going to continue to be there. Rick was not. I do think, again, I don't really know John Cena. I've met him like a dozen times, I guess, maybe. But realistically, I just imagine he's gonna go out on his shield. He's gonna do the honors on his way out, don't you?
Well, I think that is the natural thought process, but we're writing stories. What does it really? Why wouldn't you let John? Everything he's done for the business and the right way to finish. To see him in the ring with his hand raised and the accolades and you're gonna, why can't this chapter of Cena, which is a book, which is several novels, which is a 20 plus year, we'll call it storied career. Why can't he be the Peyton Manning and win the Super Bowl and the walk-off home run and the Stanley Cup MVP and retire, whatever. I mean, what would be so wrong with that it would, quote unquote, not be good for business? I think it would be good for business to see the legend ride off into the sunset with his hand raised.
Let's talk a little bit about the business of the wrestling business. Brandon Thurston pointed out something that I felt like was worthy of mentioning. TKO's significant relationships across Disney, Netflix, NBCU, Nexstar, Fox, A&E, Paramount, and they may or may not have exclusivity terms, but even if they don't contain them in writing, a plaintiff might argue WWE has functionally foreclosed nearly all of the U.S. wrestling television market. There are a few media prominent companies that TKO doesn't have deals with, Amazon, WBD, Apple, but MLW got its case to move forward when a pre-merger WWE had deals with a lesser variety of U.S. media partners. I think this is interesting because I think we've all heard the rumor and innuendo that TNA is looking for another deal and they might be going to CW or they might be going to A&E. We know that WWE has existing deals with both of those. I find that fascinating because as you take a look around the landscape, even if they don't have exclusivity, of course, if you're asking most of these third parties, hey, do you want to be in business with WWE or do you want to be in business with insert company here? The brand recognition of WWE is going to win most of the time. I never really considered that, wow, they're doing business, Jeff, literally with almost everyone at this point, aren't they?
Look at the NFL. I mean, there's a real parallel there that,
yes,
NFL, they do business with all four of the big ones. Obviously the streaming, the YouTube, and I mean, it's just the brand, and that's obviously their strategy. And when you hear about the boxing vertical that they're with, obviously a well-funded partner, and kind of look at, that's their goal. I think in free enterprise and the world we live in and the global economy, they're doing what's they believe is best for their shareholders. They're not going to slow down. I just think that is their strategy. It's up to other folks to counteract it and offer a brand. And that's where I just think when you really drill down and look at AEW and look at the product that we put out, we are a different product and a successful product. And last week, I think it was, I don't want to get into, because I always say different demos wrong and all this, but highest rated show on TBS for the day, and just all that kind of stuff. But the pay-per-view, the buys that came in and all that. But I don't think there's any surprise if you've been following it before the merger. This is what TKO is strategy. And I think it's just much bigger than that, because you have professional wrestling, boxing on the way, MMA, PBR, they're in that live event business, and the tentacles they have in all the different agencies across the board. It's their strategy to be cannibalistic. I don't think there's any hidden agenda here. Do you, Conrad? Do you think there's anything? Oh, no, we're good partners. No, it is what it is. Don't you believe that's their strategy?
It's a strategy, just like when two wealthy people are getting divorced. One of them is going to go out and try to make contact with every big swinging dick attorney in town to make sure that they can't work against them. Like it's,
Bingo.
Yeah, we're going to make as much money as we can. We're also going to protect our ability to make as much money as we can.
Yes.
That's called being in business. It's not a negative thing. It's just the way it is. But I don't think until Thurston rattled them off, I really processed or had that thought. Well, nobody can go to Disney. Nobody can go to Netflix. Nobody can go to NBCU. Nobody can go to Nexstar or Fox or A&E or Paramount. It's like, oh, I mean, that's not to say the deals couldn't happen, but there would be a barrier to entry. There would be something to overcome. And it's like, this is fascinating. You're getting as much money as you can. And in the process of doing that, making sure that it's difficult for everyone else.
And Conrad, you said something, I think it was last week, about ticket prices.
Yes.
Hey, folks, they're not going down, they're going out. Something that Conrad, I'm paraphrasing. And when you really drill down on that and kind of extrapolate that and think that, boy, you ain't never been truer.
Because here's what's going to happen, Jeff. And I mean this. When the ticket prices creep up and become more expensive, you're going to attract a different level advertiser. When it's no longer behind a paywall and now your big events are on ESPN, it's going to attract a bigger advertiser. This stigma against wrestling fans, because as great as the ratings have been, for as long as you've been in the business, Jeff, I bet this has been true, that you always had to sell wrestling cheaper than what another program getting the same ratings would get. Is that correct?
And I don't want to get long-winded here, but on our topic today, we're going to get into some Spike TV deals, specifically the conversations and how elated we were as a company, and how Spike coming off the WWE relationship and their real realities and their understanding and blah, 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 blah. But the short answer is no doubt. My old man out in WCCW turned into USWA, he made a fortune off of the bottom of the barrel advertising. It's reality.
I believe, like, when you have this on ESPN and more people are watching it and it becomes a hotter ticket and prices go up, you're going to lend yourself to higher CPMs. And if it costs more to advertise on your program and more people are watching your program, the rights fees for your program are going through the roof. Like, the reason the NFL advertising is so strong, and the reason we've all heard the story of, do you know how much a Super Bowl ad costs? I know this sounds simplistic, but I just want to break it down. They're not just arbitrarily saying, here's how much we're going to charge this year, although they could. They're saying it based on, here's how many people are watching, and here's the quality of viewer we have. And because it's live, this carries a premium. WWE will be able to check all of those boxes with their business because of this new ESPN deal. Their next television rights deal will be much bigger than this one, all because of ESPN and the way I believe it'll raise the demand on ticket prices. It's going to be interesting, because if that's a trickle-down thing, that's good for the whole business. And I know there's so much tribalism and people don't want to hear this, but if you're a hardcore AEW fan like myself and you hate WWE, unlike myself, I like WWE. WWE doing well is good for AEW. I don't know why that's lost on people, but what's good for WWE is good for the wrestling business, and that means it's good for TNA, for AAA, for New Japan,
Amen.
and for AEW.
The uniqueness of our business is that we're emotionally attached to the characters,
yes,
brands, and all that. But when you take a step back, that's why all the AAA news that I get, because I've got buddies down there that are a part of the journalistic world, the websites, and they love to reach out and feedback on this and feedback on that. And they're all super excited. The CML success that's rocking and rolling, and then here comes this and this. But at the end of the day, I said it earlier today, the opportunity that is in Mexico for the next 24, 36 months, or maybe beyond that, but certainly right now, to start a new promotion and figure out how to brand it, and is it exclusively Mexican or whatever it is, but start a third show. It goes across the business, that the opportunities that are being created in the industry right now, shit, Conrad, they're freaking massive. I mean, from India to Australia, all points in between. Wrestling is hot, and it makes rising tide. Somebody named the podcast that a couple of weeks ago, but rising tide, it does. It lifts all ships, not some ships, all ships.
Well, I can't wait to see what the effect on wrestling is. We know that we're in a boom period now, but our topic today is going back 20 years to late July of 2005. On the 21st of 2005, in the month of July, is when we would first hear it confirmed by Dixie Carter and Spike that TNA is coming to Spike TV. Dixie Carter's quoted saying that Spike is going to massively promote the show. Meltzer's kind of skeptical on that, saying time will tell. And of course, I feel like the reason Meltzer said that is because I know that when Paul Heyman first got a deal for ECW with TNN, I think there was an expectation that they were going to promote the show. And well, I think Heyman was pretty disappointed by the lack of promotion. How big of a deal was that for you? Like, hey, it's one thing to say that we've got the time slot, but we need your promotional support to let people who are watching your station know, hey, we're here and we're live or what have you. How much time do you remember being discussed in that first Spike deal about their promotional efforts for your new show?
This is, and Conrad, I text you anyway. I want you to kind of read what Dave's reported as fact on what the deal was, and the reporting that came out that Dixie talked about all the promotional support. It to me, it is just a complete head scratcher that, as opposed to TNA got on Spike TV, the previous home of WWE, on Saturday night, that to me was the story. And if I'm Kevin Kay, who is the president of Spike at the time, but if I'm Spike TV and we're walking in the door and knowing that we came from a time buy on Fox Sports Net, and we've been in business 3 or 4 years, and a sizzle reel and doing episodes of Impact, and got a lot of content. We got a library and all this kind of stuff. But if you can explain to me what our leverage were on, say, hey, Kevin, we're not bringing our product to you unless you guarantee us this kind of, there was none of that. I mean, zero talk of that, in that, hey, we're putting you in a block because we're our network, and I don't want to say rebrand, but the real focus on Spike TV, the network for men, and the UFC success they had, and they had come, and that relationship, and we'll get to it in a little while, but the relationship between WWE and Spike went from bad to worse to flat out freaking ugly. But Kevin knew that professional wrestling got great ratings, and he was willing to give us a shot. Thank God he did. But we had to earn, just like everything we did at Spike, we really had to earn our way. And I was happy to do that and proud to do that, and knew our nucleus of a team, we're going to roll up our sleeves and get to work. But at the end of the day, they're not going to promote a show unless they're going to use their resources, like all network TV does, on stuff that has already been successful. UFC, they committed to a 3-hour block on Saturday night, and that was some of their library. It wasn't the strongest block, but that was a hell of a lead in for us, and a hell of a vote of confidence that, hey, Jeff and team, we're going to put you guys on Saturday night, and your lead in is UFC. That is a vote of confidence.
The deal you were referencing is announced a few weeks later. Here's what Dave wrote on August 15th. It's the date on the Observer.
25 years ago to the day, almost, right? Close.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Wow, 20 years ago. Yeah.
My bad.
The deal regarding Spike and not TNA selling the ad time for the show must have been a fairly late development. TNA had been talking with Howard Brody for a deal where he would make the ad deals for the company, but Brody was told that aspect is now out of their hands. The basics of the financial deal between Spike and TNA is that no money is changing hands. TNA pays all production costs for the television show, and Spike gets all of the ad revenue money. TNA gets 2 minutes of ad time to promote its pay-per-views and other merchandise. The deal on FSN was TNA was paying $30,000 per week for time, as well as paying production costs, but kept much of the ad time. But they didn't sell hardly any advertising, so made only a small percentage of what went out. So it's a far superior deal, as the audience should be appreciably larger and the amount they're spending for time will be less. I have a feeling that what you were referencing is that this, which is being reported as fact, is not actually the case.
No, and that I only chuckle about that and bring that up is that, you know, and I'm not picking on Dave and other journalists, they only can report what they hear, but being inside the tent and knowing how deals are made and Dave at this point in 2005, he'd been doing this 20 plus years. He should have known better than to report something that he didn't have anywhere close. It was just complete fiction. It was from the very first pitch meeting, myself, Dixie, my dad, David Zahadi, Sizzle Reel pitched it. I've already told the story many, many times. Get home. Hey, we want to had the voicemail from a guy named Jim Burns. Hey, we want to take this to the next level. We'd like to figure out a deal. So there was a licensing deal put in place, a 1-year deal right out of the gate, $75K an hour. And that was, hey man, go prove yourself. Go prove yourself. And I think I got that amount right. 75 was the entry, and we had a couple of different add-ons, but that was the real baseline, which was huge, and that immediately put us in the black.
It's written here, the TNA Spike meeting took place on August 8th regarding a battle plan for marketing the show. What do you remember about the early conversations with Spike about marketing? What was the plan of attack?
I mean, that's why I think this is a little bit of an embellishment, because our early meetings were, and I'll just kind of call it the nuts and bolts of how are we going to deliver episodics? How are we, and I say that's the 30-second commercials that we air on a Saturday night, and what can they run between Sunday to the following Saturday to promote the show? It was tune in, tune in, tune in, tune in, tune in. But look, it was run of schedule. Again, they had a network to run. And so we knew we were going to get limited. And I really believe at the end of the day, and I've had conversations now at the time, not a lot of these type conversations, but as the relationship grew, and certainly, and I've stayed in contact with Kevin through the years, and sometimes we'll start calls and reminisce and this and that. But Kevin really liked everything that he saw and felt and wanted a successful professional wrestling organization on his network, but he just didn't know. And so, okay, let's see what they got. And from the very first ratings we got and just kind of the demo, okay, we're holding a little bit of audience and success, and it was blowing away what was in the time slot. That's not saying a lot, but it was, okay, making some traction. And so those early Spike meetings or Spike calls, I think we did, I don't know, maybe one, maybe two in person, but they were mostly the weekly calls on how are we going to set up the relationship of deliverables and episodics. And, you know, they understood the business, but look, you know, we've got a pay-per-view this weekend. And of course, here we go again. It is what we, how do you say this? What we battled internally, and we've talked about this, Conrad, me and you, and, you know, why did y'all do this stuff? So we had the ultimate battle of, do we put it on TV to get the ratings, or do we save it for the pay-per-view to try to create the revenue? And that was a real battle, in that there wasn't, especially in the early days, they weren't so keen for us to promote a pay-per-view on a Sunday. And you ask, well, no, why is that? Well, it's a new relationship. Well, why wouldn't they want you to promote their pay-per-view? Well, what we're basically asking the viewers that are watching Spike, hey, tomorrow night, don't watch Spike. Go watch that pay-per-view. That works against that. That's why the business is so unique. And when you look at back in the day in the WCW and then WWE. WCW was corporate, so they got some of that money. But in the early days, Vince wasn't sharing any of that pay-per-view revenue, but he had enough strength in his brand and enough deal structure and had the ability and had built in that goodwill that, hey, we need our viewers to go watch the payoff for the storylines. That'll make them come back, because the Monday after the pay-per-view is always the highest out of the month and all that kind of stuff. It is all these kind of hills that we had to overcome in year one. And it was really a week after the week after the week to try to build that relationship. I know I'm long-winded there, Conrad, but these kind of conversations, when it takes me back to it, I kind of dive into this head first.
I love this little note because you and I know him in real life. I mean, you better than I, but we both think a lot of him. It says TNA just hired former WWE production guy Kevin Sullivan, not the wrestler, who quit 2 years ago. Sullivan formerly worked with David Sahadi in WWE, and his strength is in post-production work and video packages, and he will ease Sahadi's workload. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about Kevin Sullivan, but I know that he was your right-hand man for a long time and still one of your very best friends. Our audience may only know of the devil, Kevin Sullivan. Tell us about the non-devil, Kevin Sullivan.
It's funny how, no, not Kevin Sullivan. And, I still talk to Kevin all the time. We do work in baseball. We do work, all kind of work outside the wrestling business. But he gave me a little note, Conrad, that just the other day, it kind of blew me away. He came to town 2005. It's 2000. So now we're talking 20 years. Do you know how many pieces of media he's done other than LinkedIn posts, but how many truly pieces of media he's done in 20 years? Do you know, Conrad?
I don't.
5 questions were asked. Alan, I can't say his last name. Woj. Yeah. Singh. But anyway, he's done no media. So the wrestling fan would not really have a clue about, what do you mean the other Kevin Sullivan? They don't even have that context. That blew me away when I went, damn, not one bit in this day and age. And that is his style. Now, if you know him like we know him, he'll wear your ass out, but he is truly one of the hardest workers I know. But we brought him in because when you go from, I'll call it Fox Sports, and we used to do our it would be a hybrid, but David Sahadi, but we had editors, and it was kind of we were just putting the company together in these early days, because when you have our post-production partner, or our post-production department, the first 2 years when we were in the asylum consisted of a party of one, and that man would be Jeremy Borach. I mean, he did everything from laptop. We didn't really have a and I'm halfway joking, but not really. We didn't really have this big department. Then we went to film workers, and some of the same folks that worked at film workers on TNA are still with AEW today, which kind of blows my mind. And there's that was where the nucleus of the TNA post-production, but we kind of built that. But we brought Kevin on, and him and David had worked together. Kevin had moved to town, still here in town, God bless him, but he's headed up the post-production department, and it grew, into a staff of 12, 8, 10, 12. I mean, he did the Ring of King project. He did, from 1 hour to 2 hours. New Japan Global Impact, that's another episode. If one of our staff's listening, I think there's an episode. Anyway, that was a doc between New Japan and TNA when we went over, and Kurt and Bubba and Devon. But anyway, Kevin did the post-production department and really built it from a staff of 1 or 2 at film workers, and then moved it over to our offices in TNA. And then we built out then the transition to HD and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, he was with the company until before AEW. Then Tony came and hired that department. So that's the Cliff Notes version of Kevin Sullivan, the non-devil.
We got to get the non-devil Kevin Sullivan on the show with us sometime. Maybe we'll get him on the calendar.
All kind of stories. It blew me. I mean, I guess I should have known that, but I didn't really. I'm like, you've never done media, like never.
Well, he's about to. Right here.
Conrad, that's a scoop for you, pal, if you can get that one.
myworldpod.com is where you'll be able to see that, I hope. Hey, let's talk a little bit about Chris Harris. It's written in the Observer that he tried out a heel persona on the July 30th, 2005 indie show in West Liberty, Kentucky. It's written, Harris and James Storm had been promised a heel run as tag champions when they signed their TNA contract several months back. There have been beginnings of teases, but the trigger hasn't been pulled. I think one of the holdups is the feeling that the Naturals right now aren't strong enough baby faces, but they are working together on an 8-man on August 14th, so it could be the start of something, but they are holding back as much as they can from these angles until you start on Spike and TV in October. What do you remember about Chris Harris trying a heel persona on the indies?
So, and look, I'm going to ebb and flow, and I'm probably going to jump out of order. I got to see Chris last week in Cincinnati. It was great to see him, and he caught up with a few of other folks that had TNA connections back in the day and all that. But Chris and James, I thought, were really just a unique chemistry as baby faces. America's Most Wanted, they, the Asylum days, and they were TNA's own and homegrown talent and all that. But they, both of them, always wanted, hey, man, I want to be a heel. I want to be a heel. We want to be a heel. Well, we ended up, as we'll get to, we debuted as them as heels with Planet Jarrett and everything that went with that. But both of them wanted to try it, and I had forgot about him doing a couple of different independent shows as heel, because I always, in my mind, from a booking philosophy, thought they were best served as baby faces. But that's the mark of good talent, saying work heel or baby face.
Johnny Fairplay is being talked about coming back. Maybe they think they need some sort of celebrity tie-in. Samoa Joe is revealing that he came close to quitting wrestling because he was burned out before he joined TNA, and he's thrilled to be with TNA. And TNA signed the deal for India with ESPN Star, and they're going to have Sanjay Dutt actually go over in the month of September to do some PR. And Meltzer saying the company is going to be meeting with Spike TV over the next 2 weeks to put together this marketing plan, because Spike, not TNA, is selling the advertising time, and they have an even more of a financial interest in the show doing well. The claim is they're going to strongly promote the show. Time will tell. Hopefully they'll have TNA doing the commercials, and they'll list the time and date. And instead of doing the bang-up job of UFC promotion, where they had the wrong month for the debut and never listed a time and date. Was anybody on your team familiar with the UFC rollout and maybe how some things had been fumbled with Spike? Were you cautious about the way all the story, the narrative you had heard about TNN, which is Spike, not supporting ECW? Was that even on your radar? Or are you thinking we're going to handle our business and it doesn't matter?
So, I remember that, and probably more from an ECW perspective, I also knew that, and I'm trying to think the different avenues, and maybe it could have been from a Zahadi or a Kevin Sullivan or different talent. Maybe, I don't know if it was BG or Kip or anyway, a talent, whatever. I knew that the WWE relationship, look, they left. And so I knew it wasn't going to be like all rosy and all that. But when again, I was a much younger businessman, but to me, I always kind of just drilled it down into the cornbread in, okay, what kind of promotion are we going to help? And I always kind of go back and probably kind of maybe it's part my delusional optimism, my naivete, me not just completely fully understanding all that. But at the end of the day, when I heard all this kind of stuff that, oh, Spike support here and UFC is going to be their primary, you guys are going to be lucky to get anything. In my mind, I always went, you know what, guys, we're on their air. They're paying us. We got to go prove ourselves. And the only way we can prove ourselves, and maybe this is a Jerry Jarrett 101, is you got to put out compelling content every damn week and make them come back to watch. That was my mindset, our mindset, or I tried to instill that across the board that, hey, guys, we got to go produce a good show, period.
Well, you're certainly trying to produce a good show with Sabu coming in. It's written here that the WWE was trying to get him as late as the night before he came back to TNA here, because he said in the end, Vince McMahon doesn't respect his style and what he's done, and he doesn't want to work for him. But he also noted that Scott D'Amore did all the arranging by himself for a benefit show for Sabu, and he did this when Sabu was broke and down and out. And he had described just how bad his condition was, and he never forgot that D'Amore was there That's pretty cool to hear Scott D'Amore, who, and I know he doesn't want us to talk about this, I'm sure, but behind the scenes, Scott D'Amore helps a lot of people in the pro wrestling world financially. And you and I know some of those things, but it's not our story to share. But to hear that, hey, that paid off in a weird way for TNA, Sabu, knowing that he was getting offers from WWE basically because TNA was interested, he said, thanks, but no thanks, Vince. I'm going to TNA. And a big piece of that's because of Scott D'Amore. That's a hell of a cool story.
It is. And he, Detroit connection.
Yes.
But I'm not just going to lay it all on that. But Scott, you're sitting around a creative room and an idea, whether it's my idea or Dutch or Vince or JB or whoever it may be, it was all went without saying. Whatever we arrive at, hey, Scott, will you call Sabu and whatever it may be? They always had a tight working relationship, and I respected in so many ways both of those guys because of that, just the way they operated. There was a trust factor there.
We got to talk about Shocker. This is an interesting report from the Observer. We've spent a lot of time in the archives talking about Shocker. As a reminder, one of the biggest stars in Mexico, but he's a favorite of Dusty's, who's going to be a big advocate, because at the time Shocker was doing, I think it was a McDonald's commercial that was national. And so you've got it in multiple languages, even in Spanish speaking countries, but even here in America. Here's Shocker in a almost damn near global McDonald's commercial. And here's what's written in the Observer. Shocker attempted to get out of working the last pay-per-view and tapings, calling from Mexico the day before and saying he had a bad back. When they, being TNA, noted he was still working in Mexico, he claimed he could work there without aggravating it. They pressured him to fly in, which he did. Shocker seemingly having trouble adjusting to being a superstar all week where everything he does gets over, and he's presented in such a big-time way, and then coming in where he just walks down the aisle, and he can't just walk down the aisle and kiss his biceps because they have 10 years worth of good wrestling that's gotten him over. Now, let's take a sidebar on that, because I do think that's interesting. When you've got an international talent who's over like Rover in their area and they're celebrated, I mean, people are throwing rose petals at their feet. They can't wait. Oh my God, I can't believe so-and-so's here. It's a big deal. Everybody loves that. But now you come to another country and no one in the audience knows who you are. And you have to earn every clap and every fan like you're just starting over. I'm sure that's frustrating for a guy. It has to play on their mind a little bit. You've been in some of these situations before where, hey, you're in your home territory and they're familiar and they love you. And then you go somewhere else and they've never seen you. Man, what's that feel like, Jeff? Most of us listening to this will never know. That's got to be frustrating, right?
Well, I'm going to go back to my ear, learning to understand the audience, because you could go, let me think of a good example. I'll say this, WWF 94, we did lots of international shows. You go to a German, I'll say kind of a smaller show in Germany, because we did quite a bit. And the TV was strong, but Conrad, you can go out, and this is where, God, you got to love this business, but you can go out in a full house and the people are there to watch wrestling. They're not there for the feuds or the storylines or the characters. They came to see wrestling. And so if you kind of understand that, then you shift gears and tell your stories a little bit different, a little bit simpler and all that. But a guy like Shocker, and I've referenced Apollo on a much smaller scale, but in the Puerto Rican set of circumstances. But Shocker, like you said, a major headliner. And I don't want to say culture shock, but yeah, in the wrestling culture, because it was different. And the people in Orlando, the TNA faithful, they had no idea just what a megastar, and that happened with Mystico when he went to WWE. It's happened many, many times through the business that fandom did not translate when they switch promotions or whatever it may be. That's why when you go back and watch Nitro, the early days, and I'm sure you've talked about this many, many times on 83 Weeks, but the cruiserweights, when they were paraded out week after week after week, people didn't really, I don't know this guy, or whatever it is, Psychosis and Hoovy and all this kind of stuff. But their action is what kind of got them over. But Shocker's emotional connection and his character and persona is what got him over in CMLL. Came to TNA. It was an uphill battle, and I think he realized that real quick. And hey, I got a bad back and got this and got that. Again, at TNA, we were trying to reach into the Hispanic audience in so many ways. Spike was high on that, not just because of the UFC draws, but it's something that's been around now 20, 25, 30 years, is how do you get your Hispanic demos up?
Well, I'll tell you how you get something up at home, and that's with our friends at BlueChew. It's like a hot tag for your wiener, and I'm proud to say in 2025, Double J is entering the room dick first. You see, BlueChew isn't just a tablet, it's a cheat code for your crotch. It's stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership. BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. Last time I took a BlueChew, my dick got sponsored by an energy drink company and refused to do missionary, saying it was bad for the brand. Extreme positions only. Seriously, I carry my Encyclopedia Britannica everywhere I go. Guys, this isn't just about performance. This is about your legacy or your third legacy. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little BlueChew. Discover your options at BlueChew.com, and we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of BlueChew free. Just use the promo code MyWorld at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join BlueChew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And a big thanks to BlueChew for sponsoring today's podcast. And Jeff's wiener.
Hot tag for you.
The stroke. Come on now.
Come on now, Connie.
Hey, BG James did an interview with Wrestling News, and he was on there live openly talking about how him and Kip James would be put together soon. And Meltzer would say, because there's no major television, that angle has been put into super slow motion because of the feeling, and I totally agree with, that it's insane to finish any angle right now that could potentially mean something. This is an example of fans causing something to happen. The original plan was never to reunite the New Age Outlaws, but when they did the teases and the fans were so into it, chanting New Age Outlaws, pretty much everyone recognized now they have to give them that. Is that accurate? This wasn't the plan, but fans were with it, so we pivoted?
Well, gosh, we didn't really, as we dove into the topic, we're going to get to Sacrifice 2005, but there was a period when we went off Fox Sports Nest at the end of March, end of May. So we had June, July, August, September. So we had 4 months, 16 weeks. And a lot of folks, I think, online would refer to it as kind of the lame duck because it was between TVs. But I can remember in the creative room saying, hey, guys, I hear you loud and clear, but at the end of the day, we got a pay-per-view to run. And we were kind of juggling things and all that. But we wanted to tell those stories once we debuted on Spike. And, Brian and Truth and Conan, 3 Live Crew, I always was a big proponent of, we got to make this make sense. I think the simple terms, the low-hanging fruit is put Billy and Brian back together. But how do we make this make sense for Conan and Truth? That wasn't easy, but that was kind of the mindset.
Let's talk a little bit about Mystico. It's written in the Observer that Conan is working to get the other Mystico, the Juarez wrestler using the name Incognito, who some say is every bit the wrestler of the television star, to be brought in. He does come in, but it's the following year. It's like May of 2006 at Sacrifice. It's a gauntlet match. Do you remember having any dealings with the other Mystico, the one who was Sin Cara 2 in WWE back then?
Well, I mean, Conan was obviously the conduit. Mike Tenay would always be my advisor, confidant, help me think through things through. But that was also because of work papers. And so did I have direct? I don't know if you're asking direct. I knew these kind of discussions were going on to get him to come in. But it was always a challenge for us. And I go back to this. In Mexico, you can work 4, 5, 6, 7 days a week. at TNA during this stage. We hadn't even started running live events. So it's really just come in for the TV tapings, which really you had to leave your house the day before the tapings. I know we flew some guys in day of, but, we're asking guys to uproot Mexico, their career, essentially 3 days, minimum of 2, with not crazy pay, if you will. So there's always a challenge to get talent to commit. On one-offs, everybody wanted, quote unquote, the deal. And as we know, limited budget, we're in this hybrid ground where we certainly didn't have any budget, but we got there.
We're hearing that there's some ideas to tie UFC in to you guys programming. And of course, that's the idea, is we hope that we have UFC Unleashed, and we have the Ultimate Fighter, and we have Spike, and it's going to be a big Saturday night offering. But I don't think there was a lot of UFC tie-in from you guys' standpoint. It does feel like there was more with Bellator MMA years later. Was there hesitancy from UFC and Dana White back then? Because I remember, as the pretty famous story goes, he was pretty straight up in communicating to Kurt Angle, you can do UFC or you can do pro wrestling, but you can't do both. And I think at the time, Dana was thinking, hey, I don't want people to think that we're fixing fights or whatever, because gambling is such a big part. People forget that the Fertitta family owned casinos, and their extended family owned casinos. So gambling was always a big piece of the UFC operation. And that was not really the case for pro wrestling. So he probably wanted to avoid the accusation of fixing fights, something that boxing promoters have dealt with for a long time. Was that the reason the UFC was hesitant to have a more on-camera, on-screen relationship with TNA, or was it something else?
And I kind of referenced Dana on my personal life. He left some really nice voice messages, and we would see each other out. But I never had this conversation. I know I had it with the Spike folks on, hey, can you guys get any like real raw data that just because you're a UFC fan, does that mean you're, and I'm not saying a WWE fan or, TNA brand new brand, are you a wrestling fan? I was never of the mindset that they were the one and the same. I always took it on an individual case by case basis. And Conrad, I don't know if you got to see him, but at Hogan's services, I got to see Tito, and I hadn't seen him in a while. We got to catch up real quick, and that came a little bit later. But Shamrock, Tito, guys that were. And I think at this time, Tito was on the outs, if you will. But any of the MMA guys I felt that wanted to be a part of it, to me, I wanted them to, kind of sink their teeth into it. And so as far as cross promotions, I never heard anything that UFC does or doesn't want to do it. It really never ran across my radar or to my knowledge, Spike's radar. In that, at the end of the day, that would have been up to each individual organization. And again, at that time, we were operating on completely different budgets. But look, Shamrock was a part of us, or Tito's became a part of us. Obviously, the Bellator, as you referenced. But no, there wasn't any like, no, we don't want to do this.
Let's talk about the pay-per-view. We're finally here. We're going to be talking about Sacrifice. It went down August 14th. So we just passed the 20-year anniversary for the show. And Meltzer says this show really cemented just how far the company has surpassed WWE in producing good pay-per-view events. So, of course, Meltzer saying the only difference is TNA's pay-per-view quality is the second worst thing possible when it comes to wrestling, because it's a largely well-kept secret, meaning, hey, it's great that you've got better pay-per-views than even WWE, but it's not good that no one knows about it. Now, of course, they're hoping that the Spike TV will change all of that. But Meltzer would say this was yet another in what has become a long line of strong shows. You have a strong crew of wrestlers that never give less than 100%, and a hot crowd of 800 fans at Universal Studios every month. Let's just stop right there. I know people were negative at different times about studio wrestling. You proved it can work. Fans can be hot. And there's a lot of criticism about guys in the dying days of WCW phoning it in, no showing house shows. They didn't care. So now you've got sort of this underdog spirit. It almost feels a little reminiscent of ECW, where, these guys are out here for the love of the game. They're not necessarily the highest paid. They don't have these fat, lucrative contracts. They're just out here trying to kick ass and put on the best show they can. How do you, as the leader, try to help push that locker room and cultivate that sense of having a chip on your shoulder and performing at your best and proving a point? Because it would be really easy for guys to sort of say, well, I'm phoning it in. You're booking young, hungry guys, and it comes through. How do you keep that going week to week, month to month, Jeff?
Hope. I think the one word would be, Conrad, I was just sitting here thinking about the progression that we had as an organization. You know, those first 2 years and getting the ball shot from our financial partners, you know, the Scrooge situation, and hell, the feds investigating. I mean, it was no secret that Jeff and Jerry walked into a brick wall almost day one. It was just like, holy crap. And then we survived that and got on our feet, and it was about survival, I'll call it, during, in a lot of ways. And at the end of the day, it was the WWE, and this just, people can't even, a lot of folks that are listening to this probably really can't even relate that it was the WWE and then nothing else. I mean, independent wrestling was nothing like it is today. It was just a different time, a different place, a different era. And so we really had the little engine that could to just start getting traction. And then, you know, the Fox Sports days, and okay, we getting some coverage and showing some growth, and our financial footing was a little bit better. And then all of a sudden the Spike days, Conrad, and it's like the motivation of these guys, and God bless all of them, but we all, in a lot of ways, I would say this I still say it today, but I would say it a lot back then. There's nothing better than a competitive locker room. I want the guys to be a bit on edge because they want to go out and really steal the show. No matter where they're at on the show, it's up to the creative team and the booking team and the philosophies and card placement and match placement and everything that goes with that. But how did we do it, Conrad? At the end of the day is that I wanted to instill in each person, whether it was on camera or off camera, is be the very best you can, because how are you going to further your career? And I still say this over and over. If you don't like the business or bitching about it or what, get out. Just get out, because you're not serving, not the business. Not only you're not serving the business right way, you're not serving yourself. Go find your passion, go find your calling, and not to get into a sermon or a biblical and all this. And that's why I just encourage my kids, anybody else in this, find something that you really want to do and have your passion and go after it. And I think, you know, when I kind of look back on this era, man, Conrad, we've talked about this, our damn roster, boy,
Loaded,
blessed.
The pre-show match was Apollo and Sonny Siaki beating Mikey Batts and Jarrell Clark. They go 4 minutes and 25 seconds. Crowd's pretty into it. Next up, we got the actual pay-per-view. It's going to be Saban teaming with Sanjay Dutt and Shark Boy to take on Simon Diamond, David Young, and Elix Skipper. It gets 2.5 stars. Saban's going to pin Skipper with a bridging cradle. And in an alternate timeline, I would have loved to have seen what Elix Skipper could have done.
Yep.
Alex Shelley is going to be in here with Shocker in the second match. They go nearly 9 minutes. And Alex Shelley gets the win, 2.5 stars. What's interesting is at this point, I think Alex Shelley's been wrestling for like 3 years. And here he is working with one of the most over guys in Mexico and getting a win on pay-per-view. He probably had less than 300 matches under his belt at this point. I was convinced in 2004 that Alex Shelley was going to be a huge star. We know he's now a big deal with WWE and enjoying some tag team success there with Chris Sabin, but he's one of those guys I feel like who picked it up faster than others. Would you agree with that?
No doubt. And, you know, as I was trying to rack my brain, and I don't have a good recollection, but we put Alex over Shocker. Was Shocker on his way out, Conrad? I kind of think at this time. And it's, you know, the New Japan relationship was just beginning to kind of, and I know we covered this in another pod, how the Motors Machine Guns were put together, but Saban and Shelley were both on this card and both fantastic performers.
Shocker is a guy who, as we said, you would have to convince him to get on the doggone plane. So when you think about it like that, I think I would have put over Alex Shelley. as well. But he is going to hang around. He'll be back in 06 as well. But we are certainly starting to wind it down here, and we'll call it the end of the summer 05.
Yeah.
Abyss and Lance Hoyt are going to hook it up. This is designed to focus on Hoyt, even though he's losing. They're going to showcase some really cool stuff, including a Van Terminator, which is hard to imagine, but the crowd goes absolutely bananas to see Lance do that. When a guy that size can do the Van Terminator and it's in a 6-sided ring, it just looks different then, doesn't it?
Hey, I'm looking at the photo, and for folks watching on My World YouTube, we have Abyss, Chris Park, still at a high level, WWE, Andrew Thomas, now the director of Dynamite and Collision every week. And then we have Lance Hoyt, who's still kicking ass in AEW on a weekly basis. But this is a young Lance. And when you see a guy 6'7" jump all the way across the ring, it was one of the things, and I guarantee you that picture we're looking at, that image, everybody in the Impact Zone stood up and have a hell of a chant. It was those ooh and ah moments that we had all the time that kind of was built into the DNA of the brand.
Next up, we've got Conan teaming with Ron Killings to take on Kip James and Monty Brown. They go 7.5 minutes. More of an angle than a match. They're trying to, talk about some dissension here with Kip James and Kip Fry and BG James and Conan, and it's kind of funny. I do want to talk about the next match. It's Christopher Daniels and Austin Aries. These guys have been big-time players for Ring of Honor. Now it's going to be a big match on the TNA pay-per-view. It's kind of positioned as almost like an internet dream match. It gets 3 stars, and Christopher Daniels gets the win. I know that, Austin Aries has had an interesting relationship through the years with TNA, but in 2004, I think a lot of people forget this, he was the guy to end Samoa Joe's really crazy long Ring of Honor title run. So the idea that not only did Samoa Joe lose, but he lost to, respectfully, a smaller guy, that was a big deal. And it kind of put him on the map with Ring of Honor fans. And I know that, he has a different way of thinking sometimes. What was your experience like with Austin Aries?
He worked, I'll say off and on, respectfully, but a hell of a talent. And I know that, I'll call it the rep or the narrative. And during this time, I was always like, guys, he's been super professional. Oh, you just wait, Jeff. But he, in my opinion, oozed charisma. And we tried a couple of different things, but I believe more than anything, and he's certainly not the only one, he was a victim of not having enough space on the card. We were so loaded with talent. I think in the specifically in the early days. Later on, hell, he became even champion. But in the early days, just didn't have enough spots on the card for all the talent we had.
The next match is one I want to encourage you to go out of your way to see. It's Jerry Lynn and Sean Waltman. They get plenty of time here, nearly 15.5 minutes. And I'll just read what Meltzer wrote. This was pushed as an 80s storyline as they showed what looked like home movie clips of them working in Minneapolis Indies when they were both breaking in. During the build, they talked like these two were the X Division pioneers. Before the days of cruiserweight wrestling in WCW, they worked for Global on ESPN and feuded. There are a lot of top-level wrestlers in this group. He's talking about TNA. But Waltman does little things in the ring that make him appear like a real star that set him apart. I don't want to say he was the best guy on the show, but in the little things, he was the most impressive. This match is tremendous. It gets 3 3/4 stars. I love that we're talking about their shared history and celebrating it and treating them like the pioneers they are. But what jumped off the page to me, and I don't know that I ever told you this, Jeff, but at the very first All In, you and I were both there. We're watching, of course, Cody and Nick Aldis for the world title, but there was also a match on the card with Christopher Daniels. And gosh, who's the actor? He did such a great job. He had a wrestling show. Stephen Amell, that's it.
Yeah.
So we had a suite for wrestlers who were booked at StarCast who just wanted to watch the show. So I had Cody hold me a suite, and I bought it from the ticketing office at Sears Center and blah, blah, blah. But then I knew, hey, if I've got guys who want to watch the show, but they don't want to sit in the crowd, they want to actually enjoy it, not have to just do meet and greets, I'll stick them in there. So I popped by to say hello, And sure enough, there's Brian Alvarez, or not Brian Alvarez, Dave Meltzer at his laptop banging away, making notes. But like 2 seats over in the suite, there's Sean Waltman. And I know Sean, so I'm chatting with him. And he talked to me a lot about the little things and how that's what he focuses on in a match, not necessarily the moves. And he was watching Stephen Amell, and he's saying he's got all the moves down. But the difference between a real professional wrestler and someone who's learned the moves is how they put it together with the little things in between. And for Meltzer to go out of his way to say, I don't want to say he was the best guy on the show, but in the little things, he was the most impressive. I think that's the highest compliment Sean Waltman could ever hear. I think that's cool, knowing that that's the way his brain works and that's what he focuses on, and that Meltzer recognizes it too. You're a wrestler. You watch wrestling differently than the way I or most of the people listening to this do. Can you expand on the little things that Sean Waltman does that make him so great and so effective?
Well, I don't want to speak just for Sean, because I mean, the broader thing is, and when you hear, oh boy, it takes me back to a Pat Patterson, a Scott Hall, a Shawn Michaels, a Jerry Lawler, guys that really have had success after your match, before your match, on a car ride. That's the kind of thing that it is. I think in a lot of ways, the real talented wrestlers have a PhD in body language, because I think more than anything, if you could substitute a term of the little things, it would be positioning, facials, all the different things. But a big broad stroke would be it's your body language, because you can say so much. And the little things, and sometimes I'll share this in seminars, Conrad, and sometimes they'll look at me like so confused. Then other times you can see almost literally a light bulb going off to a talent, and they go, oh, okay. It's like, hey man, when you get up in the ring and you're walking to the ring and you stand up in the ring, this first time you get in the ring, don't work toward the front row. Work to the person, visualizing in your mind that I want the person in the very back row to understand the emotion I'm conveying. If you have that, there's hundreds of these, but if you kind of have that pivot mindset, you have a different outlook on everything you do. Those are the kind of things that end up being a lot of the little things become, oh, this may be a quote, but it's true. A lot of the little things collectively can become everything.
I love you, Jeff.
What?
Your brain spins so fast that instead of us just getting that awesome quote, you stop in the middle to let us know this is going to be a good quote and then finish it. But I just love that the analysis with inside the analysis with inside. I love the way your brain works, dude.
No, but I could, like, there are so many little things when you go back and watch a Lawler, Sean, a Kurt, but different styles. I mean, Hogan in his Japan. That's why I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff. The early days of, you just like Taker, the little things, and it's Pat Patterson teaching. Man, oh man, I don't know. I'll go down a rabbit hole. I know we're long here, so I'll keep going.
Hey, let me ask you this. These two guys, we're talking about Jerry Lynn and Sean Waltman, they're going to be forever linked.
Yes.
The works they did together in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis Indies, and then in Dallas for Global, and then even in Japan. When you look back on your career, who would you consider the Sean Waltman to your Jerry Lynn, or vice versa?
Oh, Lord.
Is it Billy Joe Travis? Is it Pat Tanaka? Is it Brian Christopher? Like, who was the early defining opponent in the early years of your career?
Oh boy. I had, like, my first, or maybe year two, I was a single babyface against the Tennessee stud, Robert Fuller. He taught me more about the little things. He's 6'5", 6'6". I mean, he was a head taller than me, a lot bigger, but he knew how to, we'll call it, protect his heat, but also kind of position me as that fiery babyface. He did a shitload for me. So, and look, people are like, who are you talking about? Anyway, Robert Fuller was a huge influence. And yes, Billy was my partner. Pat Tanaka was my partner. Akio Sato that year one, all that kind of stuff. But when you kind of, and I think you're asking kind of rivalries, Brian Christopher, there was, I was the baby face, but still the veteran in the ring. But, and I said this, I've said this multiple times. Brian was a guy that made everybody better in his performances. And I mean, me, the referee, the partners, whatever it may be, he had a sense of real heel emotions that he was so easy to play off of. So maybe a Brian Christopher in my early days, I think to draw this analogy, I think it'd be him.
Let's talk about match 7. It's Eric Young and Bobby Roode and A1. They're all going to be lining up to take on America's Most Wanted, which is Chris Harris and James Storm, and the Naturals. So these guys have been feuding forever, talking about the Naturals and America's Most Wanted. But now, certainly in the death of Chris Candido, these guys are Nashville native, and they're the hometown baby faces, if you will, homegrown TNA talent. So even if they were heels, by God, we're going to join forces tonight to take on Team Canada. But Canada wins 3 1/4 stars. But up next is a match that Meltzer said if it had a few more minutes, it could have been the match of the year. We're talking Samoa Joe getting a win over AJ Styles in 15 minutes and 5 seconds. Make no mistake, Samoa Joe is on a tear here, and this is the TNA equivalent of strapping the rocket ship to him. AJ Styles has been the guy, and everybody knew that. So for Samoa Joe to get a win over him, fans are all into it. They've got dueling "This Is Awesome" chants. People absolutely love this match. I recommend it as well. It gets 4 1/4 stars. But what's interesting is, with the benefit of hindsight, I think we can see that it's the booking and the building of Samoa Joe that's gaining some momentum that will ultimately create the biggest buy rate in TNA history, talking about Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. But without this designed push for Samoa Joe and for him to go on this streak and become this unbeatable monster, I don't know that it happens. So no disrespect to Samoa Joe, but the creative and the presentation has a lot to do with this too. And to beat AJ like this clean, that's a big deal. I love this match, and I love the push of early Samoa Joe. What can you tell us about this?
Conrad, as I was reading the notes and the research and the things that came to my mind, and again, we are in that era that we, off Fox Sports and not on Spike. And so we knew this was an online audience. And I remember, and I'm just trying to think of the guys in the room and the creative process. And again, we just kind of glossed over that Star Sports in India deal, Conrad. And that's, maybe we do a episode on TNA International one day. That was a monster deal. And I'm not going to say, financially it was good for us, but getting on Star in India was, gigantic. But so, the different hats is where I'm going wearing is. But when I kind of went through this show and the things that kept popping in my brain, Daniels and Aries, Joe and AJ. And I want to say, I'm going to say it until somebody disputes it, that we were in the room and going over times for each matches. And I feel like, hey guys, let's give these two guys the bulk of the time. Let's give them a little bit extra. And because when you go in and you sit down and 7 or 8 matches on a pay-per-view, you kind of know, okay, this is probably going to be short. So instead of I'll say 10 or 12, they'll go 6 to 8 to 9, and you kind of give that on the back end. And my thought was, hey, let's end up letting these two matches both go over 20, something to that effect. And when those guys tore the house down, and you that night, and just kind of like, damn, that they really just got going. Because Joe had a pacing about him, and I'll say Chris, when needed, Chris also knew how to pace different things. And if you get into those next level of false finishes, all those guys really knew how to take it to another level. But those two matches on this show. And look, we kind of glossed over Team Canada. I mean, when you saw a young Bobby Roode, a young with dadgum springs in his legs, Eric Young, those bump taking heels that made AMW and the Naturals look like King. I mean, just again, a loaded card. But the Joe AJ Daniels Aries match, regretfully, should have had more time on this show. And I think it would have made the show be even more memorable.
Let's talk a little bit about the main event. We're finally here, and what match it is. It's Jeff Jarrett and Rhino on one side against Raven and Sabu in the other. And the steps added during the pregame show were if Jarrett pins Raven, he gets an automatic NWA title match. But if Raven pins Jarrett, Jarrett won't get another shot for at least a year. And almost immediately, the pizza cutter comes out. Raven is cutting your head with a pizza cutter. This is years before Chris Jericho and Nick Gage. Here you are doing it back in 2005. What do you remember about working with a pizza cutter? Is this your first time working with a pizza cutter?
I'm going to say in the Memphis days, we may have had a pizza cutter or two, but there's a crimson mask. But no, I'm when you sit down or go into something like this, when a Raven, how do I say this? A pizza cutter and Raven go like peanut butter and jelly. It would just kind of fit the demented. So I was up for it. It helped. And look, me and Raven had I thought really good chemistry for years. And so it fit here.
I know that what's interesting is you and Sabu were around each other in 91 in the Memphis territory for USWA when he's first cutting his teeth. And I know in 03, you teamed with Sabu to take on Disco and Raven. But you got to wait until 05. And about 3 weeks prior to your match here with Raven on pay-per-view, you wrestled Sabu at the Gathering of the Juggalos.
Oh, boy.
And that's in Ohio. But then 3 weeks after that, it's a three-way, or 4 guys in the match. But Raven, Sabu, Rhino, and Jeff, it's interesting to think about as much shared time in the ring as you had, starting around the same time, working a lot of the same places. You didn't have a lot of in-ring exchanges with Sabu. What was surprising to you? Because by the time you're wrestling here in 05, man, Sabu has been a legend for at least 10 years amongst hardcore wrestling fans. And he had a reputation that was different with fans than it was with the talent. When you finally get in the ring with him, whether it's the Gathering of the Juggalos or this particular match, did anything about Sabu catch you off guard or surprise you, or was everything exactly as you expected?
Well, his, and I don't want to say his timing because it sounds like that, but his style, I knew well enough. And what's crazy is when people are like when I don't know if this ever comes up, I'm like, yeah, a guy named Rob Z and Sabu worked in Tennessee, and they worked Memphis TV, and that's Rob Van Dam and Sabu. I remember Robert Fuller. He never could pronounce either one of their names. That's a running joke between me and Al Snow. But nonetheless, it was bizarre that we never – and look, you just hit the nail on the head. The Sabu that was in Memphis and then the Sabu that was in TNA, that ECW run, he was just on a different level, a different aura, and I knew what to expect when we got in the ring with him. But again – my Memphis upbringing, whether it was the Moondogs or one of Lawler's favorite monsters of the week or a Falls Count Anywhere match, you just, learn to, and I don't say adapt, but, when Sabu enters into the match, to me, he's a guy that if it's a single, the opponent, or if it's a tag, the opponents and the partner, you cannot treat it, quote unquote, like a regular tag or a regular match, because Sabu's a character that never plays by the rules. And if you don't have that mindset, then don't have Sabu in the match. That's how much I respected the character, but also viewed it knowing that Sabu's style is to be, homicidal, genocidal, suicidal, all that kind of stuff that goes with it. So Sabu doesn't play by the rules, and that's his character. So adapt accordingly.
I want to ask you about a meeting that happened the next day. You guys do this pay-per-view, and then you do TV tapings the next day. And this is where, according to the Observer, The wrestlers were all given new rules regarding independent bookings because TNA will be having DVDs distributed at the national chains, including Walmart in September and Best Buys in October. All contracted wrestlers are no longer allowed to appear for any indie promotions that have DVDs sold at major chains. They're okay with ROH or promotions that sell DVDs through mail order or on the internet, but if ROH starts moving to chain sales, then TNA talent would be pulled once again. Talent is not allowed to work on any shows that will either air live or on tape delay on pay-per-view anywhere in North America. So who draws this line in the sand? How do you guys decide, nope, enough is enough, can't do it anymore? Is it based on the Spike thing, or is that just your best practice knowing you've got Spike? Talk me through this.
It was a 1-2 punch, and I wish in the notes you would have had that, because our DVD deal, and I think this was our first major one, and I'm trying to think, God, I might have flopped to Minneapolis and met with the folks, but Conrad, we had I don't want to say courted, but we had kind of done smaller deals, but we were getting, oh boy, what's the terminology, but we were getting retail. I mean, we were getting in all the major retailers, and so we had to have, all right, how are we going to treat this? Well, then the Spike deal, because the Spike deal happened pretty damn quick, knowing, okay, Spike's going to kind of use this, because they had a different viewpoint in that, you know, they had dealt, this was uncharted territory, and me and I'll say Brian Diamond and Kevin Kay and Scott Fishman and others through the years would chuckle about this, but in the early days, it's okay, WWE, and you know, it's the Raw and SmackDown, and they run their own shows, and then they'll go international. Well, here comes TNA, the little engine that is going to get on the air, but they don't run live events, but their talent appears in this promotion and that promotion. And so we ebbed and flowed. But at first we were like, wait a minute, we're paying for this talent on Saturday nights, and they're going to go work somewhere else, and they can get injured, and you guys aren't making any money off this. It was a brand new world of independent wrestling and professional wrestling for them. So the DVD line depended upon, oh boy, Conrad, it's a Dallas conversation. It's a talent relations conversation. It's a Dixie conversation. It is, you know, how are we going to kind of navigate our way through it? And you got just the different promotions. It was not easy. I want to say, coming off the heels of a Spike announcement, we had to at least set some parameters, because we just didn't want things to we didn't want anything to negatively reflect with our partners that Spike obviously was paying us every week, or about to start paying us every week, and the DVD group, they upfront advances. So two partners creating revenue, we did the thing that I think anybody would do. How do we make our partners happy? And some talent understood it. You know, some people, I think for the most part, everybody kind of, maybe they might not have voiced their displeasure, but they understood it.
Well, boys and girls, that'll do it for us here today. I hope you guys had fun as we took a stroll down memory lane from 20 years ago. And if you could sell yourself on something, your future self 20 years from now, the advice would be, I wish I would have bought this house sooner. That's what a lot of people are thinking, and we can help you with savewithconrad.com. Take a look at this gap, and you'll see where the asking price versus the listing price is spreading out a little bit. You got a little margin there. What does that mean? It means you can get a great deal on a house right now. Now, interest rates have started to improve, and that means you're going to have more competition. There's lots of rumor and innuendo that we're expected to get a Fed cut next month. If they cut rates next month, there will be more buyers in the buying pool. But right now, you can still lock down a great deal. And my advice is always, marry the house, date the rate. Hey, we can always refinance it later and get an even better deal. But if this really is the house that fits all of your needs, if you're on the fence about buying it right now and you wait until the rates drop, well, guess what? You're going to find yourself in a bidding war. You're not the only person who likes that house. I want to encourage you to do what someone I know just did. I'm talking about Jacob. He's a broadband technician from Bull Gap, Tennessee. We worked with him every step of the way to make sure he was able to buy his very first home, and we can help you too, just like we did Jacob, at savewithconrad.com. It's no cost, no obligation. Let my team run the numbers for you, but But stop throwing your money away paying for someone else's mortgage. Experience the American dream for yourself, and that's to own your own home and own it free and clear. Let's get a plan in place. And savewithconrad.com. We don't say no, we say not yet, but here's how. You can get started right now at savewithconrad.com. And we give you a 3-year guarantee in writing. All the experts seem to agree that interest rates are going to improve over the next 3 years. Well, if they do, we'll throw you another refinance without charging you a whole new set of lender fees. So you're going to get the peace of mind of knowing you got the best deal you could right now for your family. But if things improve over the next 3 years, well, hey, guess what? You didn't miss out. You can take advantage of it thanks to savewithconrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender, savewithconrad.com. Jeff, it's a big week, man. Everybody and their brother headed across the pond. When do you jump on the big bird for?
I head out Friday, going to be landing and ready for the pop-up My World Live. Farrington, the boundary. Connie, I'm certainly going to miss you, but Brother Tom Campbell's going to get the job done, me and Grado. So I'll leave Friday, land Saturday, Forbidden Door Sunday, and I'll be back here rocking and rolling next week. So
go see Jeff this weekend and be sure to check out Forbidden Door. It's coming your way live this weekend. We'll see you next week right here on My World.
Peace.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson here to tell you a little more about what adfreeshows.com is all about. Get early, ad-free access to more than a dozen of your favorite wrestling podcasts every single week, starting at just $9. That's less than 20 cents an episode each month. And yes, you can listen to them all directly through Apple Podcasts or your regular podcast apps. How easy is that? Ad-free shows also has thousands of hours worth of bonus content and docuseries like Title Chase, Eric Fires Back, Conversations with Conrad, and The Insiders. Plus new series like The Book with David Crockett, Monday Mailbags with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick, and a whole lot more. And you want to talk about early? You can't get any earlier than listening to the shows live. You can be a part of the live studio audience as we record the podcast. Plus, ride shotgun alongside your favorite childhood heroes for live watch-alongs, Q&As, and other interactive experiences every single month. Come on now, see for yourself what thousands of other wrestling fans from around the world have discovered, that adfreeshows.com is the best value in wrestling. Check it out today, and hey, when you do, the first week is completely free. adfreeshows.com.